started. Welcome everybody, and congratulations on your acceptance to our first large regional life science incubator program. So I thought we'd start by going just through a little bit of the background of the program itself, so you kind of have a sense of the scale and the involvement and the how this is kind of constructed kind of going forward. So ask if you could jump to the next slide. So our agenda today is we'll do a kind of the welcome and the kickoff. Mike Freeman, who's CEO of Innosphere, will join us, and he's going to go through two sets of content today. The first covering updated information on why our life science startups failing. We start with this because obviously we want to help you build a successful path, business plan, pitch, and data room so you do not fail. And we want to go through and make sure that we're seeing where the market is today and what people are looking at. It'll then kind of go through a diamond and square framework, which is a way to think about your business and the way that you're approaching the marketplace. The rest of the meeting day will be you kind of introducing yourselves to each other in the cohort and giving everybody a little bit of background in terms of your affiliation, your background in the company. We've kind of outlined a format for your positioning statements and then what you're hoping to get out of the program. And then we'll have some homework leaving the day. So the homework is a series of assessments, and these kind of help us set your baseline and start to have the conversations about what are the key elements you need to prioritize in your development kind of moving forward. Next slide. So just some suggestions for the day. If you can use your mute features when listening. If you have two noisy dogs like me, that helps from everybody not hearing that there's something going on. Feel free to come off mute and ask a question or enter it into the chat box. So as we go through these programs, they're designed to be interactive. I know we had the earlier question of, is it recorded? It is. But one of the things we want in these programs is interaction with the presenters and the experts that we're kind of bringing in to kind of work with you. So there's a lot of advantage to kind of be in the room and be present when we're going through the workshop so you can interact with those experts and get your questions answered right away. The presenters are all instructed to take some time to solicit questions. We'll obviously be monitoring the chat window. If you can keep your video live as a courtesy of the presenters. And then if you're having issues with drop off, freeze frame, turning off email and shutting off the cameras can help with that kind of bandwidth issue. So next slide. So I'm Kevin Noble. I'm your life science program director. So I play kind of two roles here at Innosphere Ventures. The first is kind of leading the design of this program and shaping our curriculum as we move forward. And we use a mix of kind of planned curriculum and then curriculum that we design as we go through the program and we see what your needs are. I'm also a client director. So when we get to kind of the client director assignments, you'll see I'll be working directly with a few of you and kind of leading through the program. And we'll have our client directors who are here give us a brief introduction of who they are and their background. My background is primarily through the biopharma space. So I've worked with Bristol Myers Squibb, Abbott Laboratories, Roche, and Genentech. At Genentech, I led their commercial strategy and was also the person that was leading their innovation. So as part of that, we set up numerous accelerators and incubators in the Bay Area with the intent of accelerating new ideas and kind of breakthrough innovations. So my background comes from that space, and we'll hear some others as we kind of go through. Next slide, Suhas. So this incubator is supported by a grant from the U.S. Economic Development Administration. They have a program called Build to Scale. The Build to Scale program looks for successful accelerators and incubators in key areas of focus and looks to expand those that can prove that they're contributing on a number of economic development measures, which I think I'll show you in a minute. So the mission we shared with them is to fast track the commercialization of novel life science products, foster regional innovation, and spark breakthroughs to redefine healthcare and drive life science leadership sustainability. So our goal is to have this incubator be a truly unique, oh, there's my dogs, to be a truly unique program. And you'll see some of the elements of why we think we're going to achieve that. Next slide. So this is the network that you've all joined, and it's very impressive. So this is a 6-state, 9 R1 university, 3 bioscience association partnership that'll be working together for your success. So the universities include the University of New Mexico, the CU Anschutz Medical Campus, the University of Utah, Colorado State University, University of Nebraska Medical Center, CU Boulder, Medical University of South Carolina, and Texas Tech. And then our bioscience partners include Bio Utah, Bio Nebraska, and the Colorado Bioscience Association. So all of these groups have what's called an in-kind commitment to the program, which means they'll be involved in helping us succeed and making sure we're finding the resources we need to help you be successful. Next slide. So really another very unique aspect of this program is Innisphere is actually on the hook as well. And I think that makes it unique in that we have to drive accomplishments, and we've made a commitment to the U.S. Economic Development Administration that we can do that. So we're going to run this program as it's designed with the US EDA 3 times. During that time, we've committed to generating at least 500 full and part-time job opportunities, collectively raising a minimum of $45 million, advancing life sciences through the facilitating the filing of at least 125 patents, ensuring that at least 60% of our startups secure a strategic partner, and then also have 50% of the leadership be DEIA relevant, and at least 30% of the technologies in the program accruing benefits to disadvantaged populations. So we are on the hook to drive success, and we're on the hook to ensure that you are very successful. Next slide. So this is what the overview of the program looks like as we presented it to the USC EDA. We'll be doing a little bit of design in our curriculum as we move forward. So the program is kind of made up of 2 parts. The first part that you see in blue is kind of Innisphere's core incubator curriculum program. So Innisphere is the second oldest incubator in the United States. And so we've been doing this program for quite some time. We'll start with some of that today. So when you think about how we separate out the elements, the first 3 months we'll be working with you. We call that foundation. And the goal of that foundation element is to really make sure that your business plan is solid and you've got your bases covered, and you've thought about some of the areas that need further development, and we've helped fill those in. So hopefully when we get to the end of June, you're feeling really strong about where you are in your business plan and kind of next steps. The next 3 months get into what we call the acceleration phase, and this is really starting to shape your capital strategy, starting to build out your investor pipeline, starting to really move forward in terms of executing the things you need to get done, the priority things you need to get done to kind of move forward. And you'll see we use a process called OKRs, which is John Doerr's process of objectives and key results to kind of shape your priorities and drive those forward. And then finally is momentum and exposure. And at this point, we're looking to kind of get you out in front of people that matter to you and matter to be successful. So those could be partners, those could be investors. We'll be tightening up the final things you need to kind of populate your data room. and making sure as you exit the program, you're in a really good shape to go and talk to an investor or apply for non-dilutive funding. And so those will be part of it. So as we look at the curriculum, we also pair that core curriculum with life science curriculum. And so these are the elements we've found that life science companies need uniquely in order to be successful. So we align those core components in the same core of structure, foundation, acceleration, and momentum, and drive those through. The first foundation acceleration will be kind of things we assess as we kind of move forward as being core for your development. The momentum and exposure begins to look at those things that are unique to the environment at the time. So we kind of shape that curriculum based on the needs we see with everybody and the aspects of the environment that may be new and different. As of today, you'll be assigned a client director. So this is kind of an expert mentor who'll be working with you weekly to kind of make sure you're accomplishing things that you need to accomplish, and you're talking about the ideas and strategy you need to be successful. We already talked about the network. We'll get into kind of a peer mastermind group as we get into the second quarter, and we'll talk more about that then. And then we'll have a number of things along the way that allow you to kind of practice, drive your skills and relationships. I'll point out the regional investor event. This is the year that there's a Rocky Mountain Investor Conference, and we'll encourage many of you to attend that. And then we'll create a number of other exercises for you to kind of sharpen your approach to the marketplace. Next slide. All right, so here are the client director assignments. Hopefully everyone sees their name on that slide. If not, then I've missed somebody, and please let me know. So I know we have a couple of our client directors on the line, and so I'm going to let them give a brief background about themselves. I'll start to the left with Joey.
Hi, everybody. I am Joey Money. I am a client director, as Kevin just said. My background is I'm a chemist. I worked in a large chemical company, both in the lab and in various roles, business development, marketing, etc., for about 10 years before coming to Colorado and worked in the life science industry, mostly with early stage companies, and finding a niche, if you will, in corporate development. So helping companies grow, do equity events, make sure that they have all their due diligence materials in place. So I left that in 2016 and did consulting and came to Innosphere in 2018. And I've been a client director working with a range of companies since then.
Okay, and Joey will be the client director for 3 culinary med docs, Coterra, Gelastomerics, Loxygen, NAMI Diagnostics, OncoBlaze, Patient Sim AI, and Pearl Scientific. Ben, I know he's not here today. He had an event he also has to manage. Ben will be leading ABREX, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, Automated Assessments, Decorum Medical Innovations, GenoFab, Empower Health, IVRCV, Metafoam, and Omedes LLC. I gave my introduction before. So again, my background is coming out of the pharma and biotech space. Also did a lot of work in the digital health and health technology space. So the companies I'll be a client director for are Fold Therapeutics, Gritty Work, Jura Health, Mobility Z Health, Numeri Therapeutics, Onconaut, Tangible Industries, and a company whose name I don't have yet. And Cynthia, I know you're on the line as well. So would you like to give a brief introduction?
Sure. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Cynthia Haugum. I'm relatively new to Innosphere, but I've spent about 25 years in the life sciences and medical device biopharma area. and about 5 years before that in the material science industry. My background, I'm a chemist as well, and after graduate school, I spent a lot of time in R&D, and then grew up across an
Hey, Ganga, that's you. Can you put yourself on mute, please? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So most recently, I was leading up businesses, had done a lot of acquisitions, integrations, partnering with founders. So on the business side, but I grew up across everything from R&D, product management and marketing, operations, and then did a lot of work in business and digital transformation. So for me, I'm very, very interested in terms of how you take this life sciences marriage with medical devices and combine that with digital offerings. So that's what I was doing for the last 5 years, working at Terumo Blood and Cell Technologies in Lakewood, Colorado.
Great. Thank you, Cynthia. Cynthia will be the client director for Emmett Surgical, Exocular DX, New American Fabric, Somatoceutics, I said that correctly, Susmer, Vertical Longevity Pharmaceuticals, VitaWave Tech, and Z Cure. And then Alan, are you on the line?
Kevin, hey, this is Mike. He's taking another call right now.
Okay, no problem. So Alan will be joining us. Alan will take care of NeuroServe and Fendor Therapeutics. So you'll see one of our action assignments for this week will be for you to connect with your client directors and pick out a time that works for both of you to meet routinely on a weekly basis for about an hour. And so give that some thought. All right, next slide, please. Oh, so somehow this jumped over. So Mike's slide should be in here somewhere. So take mine down. And Mike Freeman is our CEO here at Innosphere Ventures. And I'll let Mike do a little bit of self-introduction, but he's going to lead our content discussions for today. So Mike, I will let you take it away.
Hey, Kevin, thanks a lot. And it's really exciting to see everybody on this kickoff call. My name is Mike Freeman. I've been with Innosphere for about 12 years on staff. And then I was on the board of directors for about 5 years before. So my joke is, if you don't like what Innosphere is doing, I'm probably responsible at this point. You know, it's a bad joke. But just a little bit of context on kind of the thought process around running larger programming, you know, such as this life science incubator. This has been part of a slowly emerging strategy at Innosphere that started in about 2018, when we started, you know, trying to imagine what the future of the organization would look like as we were approaching a 25-year mark in operations, and slowly but surely from 2019, 2020, and so forth, kind of moved into a position where we could offer regional programming largely to research universities and startups that are in those associated communities. And we're thrilled to have the U.S. Economic Development Administration support for this program. My personal background is finance, economic development, and probably most relevant for the sessions I'll do in the onboarding. I've led Innosphere's effort in venture capital. I'm a general partner in both of our venture capital funds. So we've invested in advanced materials companies, medical devices, diagnostics, those kind of things. So I'll try to bring that perspective, to you in this program. For this session, we're just going to really orient you to the high-level thoughts around why do companies in the technology space not make it, or they're not successful or fail. And just as we've got about an hour for this presentation, so I thought it'd be fun just to really have you participate. It's hard to do, off of mute, but why don't you just think for a second about, from your perspective, what you've seen in startups and technology companies, what's the single biggest reason why you think companies don't make it or fail? And just put those in the chat, just the number one reason from your vantage point, just to get a sense of how you think about risk, you know, as it relates to you know, starting a company. So I see some things coming in. I'm just going to kind of look at those and then give you a little bit of perspective on that. Great. Thanks everybody for just putting your thoughts in. So I'm just watching this come in. I'm reading this. So just give me a second to catch up with you. So again, the exercise is number one reason why companies fail, startups in particular. And I'll just give everybody about 30 more seconds if you haven't put in a suggestion. Okay. Yeah, those are great. So let me kind of talk to you about what I'd like to present, and then, you know, have you try, you know, kind of interchange here with us over the next period of time. So the first bit of material I want to cover comes from a book from a gentleman named Tom Eisman. He's an interesting researcher. He's at Harvard University, and he teaches entrepreneurship. And the reason he wrote this book is quite interesting. He became very interested in angel investing and thought, hey, I teach entrepreneurship at Harvard. I'm working with all these great companies. This should be pretty easy for me. And over a long period of time, not so much. So he was watching investments that he made as an angel in companies that had really high potential promise. He knew the founders intimately, you know, studied the space they were trying to attack, and these companies weren't making it. And so he did some awesome research. I'd recommend, you know, picking this book. I would personally recommend you read, and did a lot of research. And this is a very data-driven book called Why Startups Fail. So we're going to talk about Tom's methodology for how he thinks about companies and why they fail, and a model for you to consider in your business. We also look at all kinds of other data sources when we can, and you know, look at data from a group called CB Insight. And this is a research service. It's like PitchBook or Crunchbase, if you know those. And by the way, if you are near-term raising capital, you should be getting on the free distribution list for groups like CB Insight, PitchBook in particular. Every 2 years, CB Insights does a great service to the startup community, and they'll study 200 companies that in that last 24-month period went out of business or failed. And they have a really nice report you can access on this topic. And we just kind of picked up the first, you know, summary data for you. If you search for this, you can get the full report and read, you know, founder comments and so on like that. So over the last about 6 years, I guess, since we've really been tracking CB Insight, the number one and number two reasons kind of flip-flop. In the latest version of the data, running out of cash or failing to raise capital, and I saw many of you in the chat put, you know, some sort of failure around, you know, capital. That happens to be the number one cause by a few percentage points. And you know, I think running out of cash, from my standpoint, is usually a symptom of a whole variety of things, not necessarily the number one thing. That may be the number one reason why a founder cited they had trouble in the business. And then the second is, and quite a few of you put this in the chat as well, no market need, or bringing a product to market that didn't have a clear or defined market or customer. And we're going to talk extensively about this in the program, as we will about raising capital, managing cash. The third most cited reason is outcompeted. And we'll talk about competitive positioning and just a thought on being outcompeted. One of the challenges that all technology companies face that's quite hard to get around is having imperfect information about a competitive marketplace. Most and most specifically large companies. If, you know, for example, if you, which we do periodically, we scan the accelerator and incubator marketplace, if you will, across the United States to see what types of companies are starting up in different regions, just to see what those trends look like. Those companies have become public in a sense that you can find that startup, you can look at what they're doing, at least at a basic level. Big challenge is you don't know what big companies are doing, and they're pretty notorious about being quiet about what innovations they're working on. So this idea of competition is multifaceted. It's who you potentially know in the marketplace today, large company, small company, and trying to make some predictions about where do we think this market's going. Quite hard to do that, but we'll give you some thoughts and tools there. And then lastly, in terms of most cited reasons, is flawed business model. That just means code for we weren't profitable. And we're going to talk about what does profitability sort of look like at a high level, and then we'll get into more detail around some financial modeling. So before I jump from this, Kevin, maybe you can kind of help me manage the chat, just because I'm on one screen, so it takes up so much room if I have it open. Are there any questions about these high-level reasons that companies fail before I kind of move on? Any surprises to you?
So Mike, I guess my question is, the number one reason of running out of cash, is that an independent reason out of the other three?
Yeah, as I said, I don't think so. I think these are interrelated. I would suggest that you search for the CB Insight report. One thing they do that's hard for us to do in terms of summarizing this data, a founder could say, hey, there were 3 or 4 principal reasons why my company failed, and they are going to be interrelated almost always. And one of the nice things in the research they do is actually publish, they interview the founders of companies that failed, and there's actually excerpts, and they kind of explain how these things got linked together in their business. So one thing to think about here in terms of reviewing this data is that these are business reasons the company failed. And I think it's quite obvious to you as technical founders in the life science space that there are a whole variety of factors that are more specific to life science companies that are also risks. And so unfortunately, we don't have great data on that, but I'll try to summarize that at the end of the session to say, what do the risk factors look like relative to a life science company being, not exactly a great comparable, but to a software company? Because as an investor, that may be the lens that investors looking through is, if I'm predominantly investing in software and SaaS, you bring me a medical device and advanced material diagnostic. Okay, how am I going to try to really understand how do I weigh the relative risk between those businesses? So we'll do that at the end and try to be a little bit more specific for this group.
Mike, we have a question in the chat from Chris Moore of Jura Health. Do they have something similar for why companies have succeeded? Do the states represented in Innosphere Ventures have any unique drivers of success?
That's a fantastic question. In that maybe the research community is biased to failure. I'm not sure. I think there certainly are really good examples of companies that are successful and why. And frankly, a lot of this program is built around that. Really kind of working systematically through things like, do we understand the customer? Do we understand how to produce the product effectively? Do we understand the regulatory landscape? Do we understand the IP landscape? We will get into those things. I would argue those are the success factors. And I'd say maybe the last thing before I move off of this slide, here's the great thing about being an entrepreneur, founder in 2024. We have a lot of data that 10 years, 15 years ago, founders didn't have. I mean, people like CB Insight studying this idea of failure, Tom Eisman really digging into this. So I would really encourage you as, a technical founder, founder, you could be both, apply the same rigor you do that you do in your science and engineering prowess to the business challenges. I mean, that's a big thing I see quite often with technical founders, is they just haven't applied the same kind of rigor they may have applied in the science and engineering to the business. We know these challenges exist, and now you're becoming familiar with them, and we're going to cover how do you try to overcome these known risks in this program? So I'll kind of move on from here, Kevin, if there's no more questions.
No more questions.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to get back to a little bit to Tom Eisman's kind of methodology and his thinking here. And I love this this analogy that many companies, or most companies that Innisphere works with and has over the years, really can be summed up quite nicely by falling in this kind of catch-22 area, where on the one hand, a startup team can't validate an opportunity because you don't have resources, or maybe under-resourced. So for example, many of the companies I'm confident on this call this morning have raised initial funding to work on the business through non-dilutive funds, probably federal grants, state grants, things like that. So as you're transitioning to needing private capital, because you likely are starting to or have exhausted those opportunities, here's the other part of the challenge: is it's really hard to find those resources unless you have validation all at the same time. So you're swirling around constantly in this kind of challenge of, hey, we need to validate the opportunity. It's not free. And then you're talking to investors, in particular early stage, that want to see more validation all at the same time and don't necessarily want to fund that. So I think Tom Eisman, I really feel like, encapsulated this concept quite well, that this is the tension. My guess is many of you are feeling this today and maybe couldn't articulate it quite that way. But that's where we want to kind of start with, is how do you create a strategy to really try to move from this catch-22 position that you may find yourself in. So in this book, Why Startups Fail, the first concept is an idea called good idea that the company may have, bad bedfellows, just meaning bad partners at some level. So let's kind of just talk high level about what that looks like. And again, we have data on this, what causes a company to fail, even though they had a great idea. And so on the teaming, on the bedfellows concept, number one is that founders came together and they weren't carefully selected, had different ideas, different visions about where the company would go, had different ideas about outcomes for the business, meaning financial. All those kind of things can cause founding teams to really break apart. The second would be, hey, good founder, group, collaborative, aligned. Many, and I don't mean to be negative when I say this, but many technical founders we work with have not hired a lot of people. And so they really don't follow good practices and tend to bring in or on team members that weren't carefully picked for all kinds of different, in all kinds of different ways. Diversity in thinking, diversity of background, diversity of age and experience, all those kind of things get bundled up in there. The next would be a company raising capital where ultimately you're not aligned with your investors. The investors want to take the company in a different direction from their viewpoint. Founders, management, not so much. That causes tension, can be a problem. And then lastly, misalignment with strategic partners. And this is a reality that as a young company, as you're trying to access strategic partners in the life science industry, even medium-sized companies have way more attorneys and way more attorneys and accountants than you do. And so it can be quite challenging to really strike these strategic partner agreements. And oftentimes younger companies that are at a big disadvantage in that negotiation and end up with poor deals. So let's just kind of look at what that looks like, if you will, when you kind of take it apart. So I think I mentioned this, somewhat already, but this idea of poor founder fit really spills into just a whole variety of other challenge areas, from, poor team fit, meaning you're making hiring mistakes. We'll talk about good hiring practices. Sounds like an HR lecture. I don't mean that, but just a thoughtful process, doing diligence on candidates, that kind of thing. One challenge we see with founders hiring kind of people they know in their network, guess what? All of you are in the same network. And so when you're recruiting outside of that, you may not be able to find the right types of candidates and the quality of candidates just because you don't have a diverse thinking team, those kinds of things. On the funder side, this idea that as a founder, as a management team, are we aligned with our investors, in particular around what is the objective of the business, typically around exit and exit timing. Are you meshed up with your investors? This is a big area where there can be disagreements that show later in the process of building the company. And then again, that poor partner fit. So are you able to really attract key strategic partnerships, relationships, and frankly, enter into agreements that are fair for both of you? So that's what that looks like at a bit more detail in terms of this concept of bad bedfellows. So the second failure mode is false starts. And we certainly see that quite frequently and have over the years. So when you look at this concept of false start, what does that usually mean? Why did a company fail if that was the failure mode? A couple of things are really important. Number one, the company conducted, or the team conducted, considerably less customer research in the initial phase. I'm guessing many of you have gone through ICOR or equivalent programs. That's what that looks like. Bad news is, guess what? Even though you've gone through ICOR, you're not done. So, we got to help you integrate this concept. You have to be constantly connecting with the marketplace, with potential customers. It never ends. You're not done. So, that's number one. I think everybody's familiar with this concept of customer discovery. You'll hear about aspects of that. That has to be done appropriately and well. You will not make it through many sophisticated investors' hurdles or over their hurdles if you have not done that work. So we can help you, recover from that and execute that if you're not quite done there. The second is, and this is obviously in the medical space, not a little bit different in terms of MVP, but many companies don't fully take the opportunity to test product ideas, test products where you're allowed under FDA or other regulatory schemes. And so they're not clear about how a customer might use a product, how they might pay for a product. They might not fully understand design feature flaws, all kinds of things like that are related. And then lastly, and this is the sort of post conversation around a company failed. So when the founders are self-aware, what they realize is they really didn't understand the customer need deeply. And you can absolutely overcome this with a process, with data, with rigor, with dedication, 100%. You can overcome this. If you don't, this is a huge risk factor. And we'll talk kind of about investor risk factors in a later session around raising capital. So let's kind of talk about some other things around this idea of false starts. So, love the lean startup concept, rhetoric around that. I mean, the rhetoric, in a good way, the structure. This oftentimes is not for all companies. And so, for example, you may see a founding team that follows a lean concept that launches too early because they frankly just didn't collect enough data. They didn't understand the marketplace. They didn't understand the customer. And this concept of launch early, fail fast, in some cases works, but in many cases it does not work because the connotation is, hey, I should move really quickly through these customer discovery, these market analytical steps, and that can cause failure. Second would be an engineer or scientist passion for building. And so what does that look like? Hey, I love building products, designing things, but we're too inwardly focused as a group. Getting back to diverse teams, we didn't bring someone with business expertise into the company or bring an advisor in that could really help us through these concepts of customer discovery. How is the market going to react? So we're could be too inwardly focused. And that obviously is quite risky from the perspective of launching a product that's not wanted or needed in the market. Kind of the exact opposite, I don't think we have in this group so much, will be non-technical founders bringing technical products to market that frankly don't have the science and engineering they need in the business. pretty confident based on what I've seen in the applications. That is not the case here, but watch out for that. And then let's just, call the term what it is, arrogance. You have teams that are hard to work with, that say, hey, I want help or I need help, really don't want help, just believe they know all aspects of starting and running a business. Quite hard to work with those companies. And then the last failure mode is false positives. And so what this means is that early customer research, early customer sales lead a founding management team to believe a market is there when it's not quite developed. And Jeffrey Moore wrote a really important book that when you're ready to start selling, called Crossing the Chasm, really outlines this concept quite well, which is there are customers in the marketplace that are, let's call them technology enthusiasts, innovators that, want to be looking at new products, trying new things. That is a relatively small aspect or small part of the market. When you move to these early adopters, you think everything's going well. Many companies in the US stall out at about $1 million in sales. That is exactly, that's all products. So you got to be careful generalizing, but that's this chasm. They hit some these innovators, some early adopters, and they couldn't get to the mainstream market, which is called the early majority. So you have to understand these sales dynamics, and that's this concept of, hey, I have a false positive. I got feedback from early customers. I'm selling, but I couldn't cross this chasm to get to the early majority. Very, very important concept in technology to understand. Okay, let me stop there for just a minute. And Kevin, any questions in the chat before I get to the best part, which is, guess what? There's a model to deal with these risks, and we're going to talk to you about how we think you can deploy it.
Yeah, the only question was, can you state the name of the book for the concept again?
Oh yeah, Crossing the Chasm, Jeffrey Moore. And I'll fix the citation on the slide. I realize that that graphic is from the book, and we'll put it on there so you have it before we send the slides out.
Right, no other questions in there, just
Great. Okay, let's keep running. All right. So Tom Eisman, I had the good fortune of actually meeting, and he did a couple what we call lunch and learns for us when he was promoting his book. Now he's not really available, but he's a really sharp individual, and I like the contribution he's made to our industry with this book, Why Startups Fail, because one, the book is data driven. It's not one person's idea of how a company worked. It's well researched. And two, and probably most importantly, if you pick this book up and read it, there's a practical model that I think almost everybody can deploy at some level, depending on how much this concept resonates with you. So the concept Tom came up with is called the diamond and square framework. And just as the visual would suggest, the outside square has to deal with the founders and founding team, the investors in the company, the team that you build, and the partners that you attract. That's on the outside, the square. Inside is the diamond, and there's 4 pieces there that are interrelated. The customer value proposition of the startup, how you organize technology and operations, how you market the business, and then ultimately the profit formula. And so the big question that you're trying to answer is, how do you know if you've identified an attractive opportunity, which was the diamond, and then determine what resources are required to capitalize it, which is the square. So I think it's a pretty straightforward concept, and let's run through the pieces and parts, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. Okay, so the framework breaks down the startup's opportunity, as I mentioned, into this customer value proposition, technology operations, marketing, and profit formula. Then the diamond is framed by those resources. Let's kind of run through each of these and talk about what these things mean. So let's talk about the diamond first, or the opportunity elements. So the first is this concept of a value proposition for your company. We'll talk extensively about this. You will have to nail the customer value proposition down 100% as you're working through this program to get ready for investors if you haven't already done that. So we start with the value proposition because it is the most important. What does a value proposition look like? So one, it has to be a strong value proposition and differentiated in the market. So strong, clear, differentiated. Here's the thing that not everyone thinks about when they're working on the value proposition is how will the value proposition be sustained over time? So you may think about, for example, is the core technology we're developing now, could it be developed into multiple products down the road? Or are there variations of the product that we could build over time? Same idea. A sustaining differentiation could be IP. How will intellectual property be developed over time? So those are the kind of things to think about. Value proposition certainly has to be relevant here and now, but also over time. So think about those proprietary assets, including business model attributes or business model innovations. And again, we'll talk more extensively about all these things in this program. So technology and operations. I would say that in the companies that the Innosphere Fund has invested in the life science space, this is a problem area for many technical founders who have never operated a business, run a company, managed manufacturing, managed design. That's what is all encompassed in this idea of technology and operations. You can have a great value proposition for a product, but if you can't invent the product fully, build it, get regulatory approval, physically deliver it if it's a physical product, service it, and all make money and make money all at the same time, this is a challenge. What this looks like when you start intersecting with investors would be an investor looking at your financial model and really finding problems, for example, with your expected costs for manufacturing at low volume, kind of mid volume, high volume, all the way through. Questions about how you will deliver that product in a regulatory environment, for example. How is the product serviced, assuming that it needs to be after it's sold? These are the kinds of operational and technology problems that come up constantly in the investment process. And this is an area, if you are not strong, particularly in the design, manufacturing kind of delivery, you should think about over the next handful of months working with your client manager to bring outside non-compensated advisors and to really help you in this arena. So marketing, again, for many technical founders, not an area they spend a lot of time, probably up to this point in time. As a new venture, you have to create awareness of what you're doing. Now, you obviously can't sell your product, make claims, do all those kind of things before FDA, but you can start communicating about what you're working on at a high level. You can have a good social presence. You can show up at conferences and speak. You can create thought leadership. That's a lot of different ideas. But the concept is at some point early in the venture, you've got to start thinking about marketing in particular and spending some budget on those things. And then pre-sales strategy before FDA, before the product's ready to ship. So marketing is the next area in the triangle or the diamond. And then lastly, this idea of a profit formula. That just means, can you make money? Again, in physical technical product companies, this can be quite complicated. Let's just take one area. So in almost all cases I'm familiar with medical products, the cost to design and manufacture and deliver first units is exponentially higher than what the assumed cost will be at some higher volume. That's quite a tricky discussion to have with investors. You probably will have a good handle on what does it cost for me to produce this product I'm working on at low volume, maybe even sort of mid volume, if you will, but not a lot of information about high volume, just for example. Similarly, low volume, mid volume, high volume, the technology, the operations, the sales and marketing costs are completely different from step to step. And then how you deploy and utilize corporate partners, assuming you do, in that process has to be all woven in to this idea that there's a model for the company that can clearly show where you're headed, and that you can create profit at some point in time, with outside capital and with other financial resources as you scale. So that's the last piece of the diamond, is that profit formula. So let's run through the resources, and then we'll jump into some questions, and then we'll kind of close with what are some unique challenges of life science companies. Okay, so on the outside, these resource elements I think are quite straightforward once you get the concept of thinking of these as resources. So the first is founder fit. So meaning who is on your founding team, and are you all aligned? Have you thought about things like, if our partnership doesn't work out, how does someone leave? These are sometimes called founder agreements. Not everybody has literal agreements, some do, but having a very clear understanding of why you're in the business, what your objectives are, what your goals are, and everybody sharing that clearly in the team is quite critical. If you've not completed your your founding team, you have a great opportunity to really think this through. And this is a great area for your client manager to engage with you, to really help assess your team and what types of kind of gaps does a team have that are going to be most critical for first funding. That may be one lens to use, or what technical or business gaps, kind of do you have that you could fill with a founder, those kind of things. So you want to be very, very thoughtful, very careful about bringing founders on. I think in most cases we see in technology, once companies start up, then start getting outside funding, you're going to be likely on a 6 to 10 year journey as a team to get to a point you can exit that business. So this is a long-term relationship that you're entering into. So the next is team, and we're going to spend quite a lot of time really talking about building the team later, but just want to introduce this concept. So, a balanced team is essential, meaning that you've got the critical understanding, talent, background as you're moving. If making bad hires is a really difficult thing for a lot of companies to overcome. They will usually overcome it over time, but many founders are not used to hiring early and then start hiring when the company's scaling. And so don't spend enough time really thinking through what does someone need to do now in the business, and then how might that role evolve, and then knowing what people need to do now, which might be more relatively short term, 6, 9, 12 months, a year, but understanding how that position is going to evolve over time and what type of person to engage and hire is just one example. Another area that is not fun, but replacing team members is painful. I don't know of a single person that enjoys dealing with poor performance. And in many startups, because there's not a lot of cash, there's a lot of pressure. Founders in particular, and early management team do a poor job evaluating people and making hard decisions about moving people out of the company. You need to do that quickly. Everybody knows the expression, hire slow, fire fast. Hiring slow in a startup can be challenging. You have a lot going on you need to get done, but hiring the wrong person 100% will be a painful move, and it'll take more time than just doing it right from the get-go. So team is a critical step in building your company, and where your client manager can really help you think through who's in the company now, who do we need to get in, how do we engage these people, whether they're, you put an advisory board together that's uncompensated. That's one way you can address these gaps. First hires, when do you bring marketing and sales resources in relative to the product being approved? All these kinds of things you need to think through in your plan for the business. So on the investor side, I know it's easy for you to get advice from anyone that says, hey, go find aligned investors. The reality is oftentimes there's not a lot of choice, especially with early investors, meaning individual angels, angel groups, or what's known as micro venture capital, micro VC. Micro just means typically venture capital funds are less than 75 million. And then once you progress from pre-seed, seed, where these investors are going to be more likely coming in your company, to more to larger funds, evolving into corporate venture capital, if that's the pathway you go, you have to really just kind of understand who all these investors are. Now, what you can do is avoid, I'd say, kind of investors that don't have a good reputation, because you can research these people. I mean, how do you do that? You find out who they funded, and you talk to a couple founders in their portfolio. You should be interviewing your investors in diligence as much as they're interviewing you. Much like bringing a founder on for a 6, 8, 10-year journey, especially your early investors, they're going to be on your capitalization table or cap table, meaning they're owners in your company for a long period of time. You have to be able to work well with these folks, in the ups and downs that are absolutely going to occur in the company. And so being careful about, especially those early investors, their motivation, their expectations, you can manage that. And then on the strategic partner side, again, think about larger companies that have a lot of resources. They have a lot of time. Many corporate contracts that we see, in life sciences and energy and so on, can take many, many months, quarters to develop, to get signed. These are not fast in most cases. And so, thinking about who you really need to partner with, how do you negotiate the right kind of agreement that's beneficial both for the larger company and for you. These are the key things you really need to think through as you're working on corporate partnering. So again, our client management group has a lot of experience looking at corporate contracts, understanding what these mean and look like, and to definitely use your client manager in that regard. Okay, so Kevin, any questions in the chat before I'm going to get to the last couple of slides, and then we'll just open it up for discussion.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in just now.
Okay, great. So I'm going to switch gears from this model that Tom Eisman writes about to a quote that was in a research report from a couple of years ago. I thought, to me, resonated and made sense if I were a founder, if I'm giving advice to founders. So what PitchBook, and there's a research service like Crunchbase or others, what they were trying to write about is how do medtech, in their lingo, companies sort of compare with mainly software digital products that are coming to market, and how should we be really thinking about that? So the punchline is that these concepts around blitz scaling, you might have heard that term, kind of like grow at all costs, this full on speed, raise a lot of money. That's an appropriate strategy for certain companies. I mentioned lean. Lean doesn't translate as well into medical as software. That's just the reality. But the investors you may be interfacing with or pitching likely have read these books, understand these concepts, and they may not fully understand, if they're not experienced, how they do or don't translate, to a med tech or life science company. So this is something you will face as you're out there starting to look for money and dealing with investors. And so PitchBook, and then we did a little bit of editing here, so it's a little bit of a combination. We just kind of thought about, okay, as if you were a digital or software startup and you were looking at questions around risk and customers, IP, and so on down the left, and then you're a medical technology company, just to stick with the PitchBook lingo, what are we really talking about, the differences? What does that look like at a practical level? So I think a lot of these are fairly obvious. I don't want to spend too much time on them, but I'd say in the life science medical space, the risk, especially early, is going to be almost always scientific, technical, and regulatory, whereas a SaaS product will be market adoption and execution. In others, is there somebody that's going to buy this really, really quickly from me? On the customer side, completely different. Who's paying, what's reimbursement? I'm going to kind of focus on tech. These are things you ought to be thinking about. Most or many software companies can't create meaningful IP outside of trade secret. Most of you, I would guess, are working on patents, have patents. Totally different environment there. Fundraising around these companies and the differences quite pronounced. I think at some point we'll collect some data. For example, how much grant funding you all have brought in to date. Most software companies don't have any grants, for example, and that non-dilutive is a critical part of the strategy for funding the company. And then how you raise money and from who and what amounts tends to be fairly different. So I won't read all these. I just wanted to go through a couple. But this is a challenge when you get out and you start dealing with investors. If the investor is largely software, maybe digital, just as overly generalized, this is what they're going to be thinking about on the right here. And they're not going to fully understand all these other factors that you're dealing with as a life science business. So you should be very careful who you're presenting to in terms of investors, because if you pitch a SaaS fund, predominantly a SaaS VC fund, they're not going to get it. And you're probably wasting your time and their time. Same thing with angel groups. Many angel groups don't have the internal diligence capacity to run a life sciences company, through a logical diligence effort. So you should be looking in angel groups. Who are they funding? Literally, year to year. If it's predominantly one industry or another, and it's not medical related, probably a pretty good sign you're not going to go pretty far in that process. We'll talk extensively about how to access angel groups, by the way, a little bit later in the program. But just some thoughts on what's the difference between, med tech, life science, or kind of software, digital, just at a high level. So, Kevin, with that, I am done. And my contact info is in the slides you're going to get. I'm happy to take any questions or take any of these risk factors we've been discussing and try to expound on them. And, Tim's here, Kevin, other client managers will kind of jump in and answer these questions kind of depending on what you're thinking about here.
Okay, no questions in the chat. Don't be shy. Jump in with your questions. We got a few minutes here to have a talk.
So it was interesting that you say that lean startup doesn't work well for med tech, and that makes sense. Is there a concept out there that works well for med tech?
Well, first of all, I like your name. Let's start.
Mike.
Okay, got a little fun with these. So, I guess, Mike, what I would say is that I think the concepts that are out there, probably with the exception of blitzscaling, which maybe you haven't really dug into, but extremely high growth potential software companies, I would say by and large, there's this concept of blitzscaling, which just means you're going to raise as much money as possible and go to market as quickly as possible. That is outside of digital health, probably a strategy none of you will deploy. But concepts like lean, if you understand the shortfalls for a life science company, are certainly appropriate. So I think it's just understanding how to adapt good processes for your product. That's what this whole program is about, frankly, right? We're trying to bring in what we think is the best thinking, the best practices we've seen over the year to help you move as quickly as possible. Now, what I am 100% convinced of personally is that, I'd say over the last seven-ish years, more so than not, what you're going to learn in this program, if you do the work and keep up, will help you speed your process up. There is no question in my mind. That is the concept of lean fundamentally. But they're just steps that frankly you can't jump over or under resource. And I think that's the main message here. And frankly, you're going to have more steps as a life science company to work through in your startup than the software company will, than maybe a clean tech company that isn't regulated. For example, clean tech companies have similar characteristics: science and engineering focus, longer lead time to sales, complexity in the products. There's a lot of similarities minus FDA. So that's why, when we run these programs, there's quite similar logic in terms of how do you build a company that science and engineering focused, and then they diverge at points as well. So I'm not sure that was the best answer for you, except to say that what you're going to be hearing about, we think should significantly speed up, what you're working on. And, the program we've run over the last couple of years, that Kevin's been leading, I think we've demonstratively shown that we've collected more data than what was typical. And we'll definitely do that in this program as well to really try to get at, hey, are we short circuiting certain aspects of the startup process for you and with you that get you to market quicker?
Yeah, that's good. Thanks. So we don't just throw lean startup in the trash, but we amend it based on the reality of a med tech company. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what that last slide tried to get at is, hey, there's just some fundamental differences between particularly SaaS and life science companies.
Yeah.
And I think, and sort of the lens I try to bring to these onboarding sessions is try to give you a sense of how investors, why does it matter to investors? Again, if you're sitting down with an angel group or a VC that does predominantly software, maybe does digital health, maybe they're experimenting, hey, let's just see what a med device company looks like. They're not going to understand the context of how you've had to start the business up and the steps you will have had to gone through. And so that was the main kind of hopefully a point of just the last 45 minutes of chatter here.
Hi, Mike. So in that case, follow up on that, my question is, so would you think the biopharmaceutical company follow the same rule as the biotech then? Like we do have to go through the regulatory approval before we could potentially raise more money. But in that case, would it be a better strategy just starting with grant money and developing to a approving ready stage before launching larger scaled investor approach?
So I'm gonna answer this and then ask Kevin to jump in. So the data is pretty clear when you look at advanced materials, device, and diagnostic companies, the pathway to market relative to pharmaceuticals. I mean, they are just different. Timeframe's different, capital's different. So my gut reaction to your question is 100% you should be leveraging any and all non-dilutive funding, because if you look at the pathway for new drugs to the market, that is the pathway they follow, because there are very few to no early investors that want to get on a 10-year journey with you in a what probably is a pretty high risk binary situation. Does it work in the clinical trials or not? Kevin, Joey, others, you've got a ton of experience here. Just add to my ramblings here, but just want to check that that's good advice from your standpoint.
Yeah, I think so. I think we heard it. CU Boulder had their destination startup last week, and they had an investor there from. I'm spacing out. Well, it'll come to me. One of the big Coastal Ventures, and one of the things he said is it's in his mind very wise to go as far as you possibly can in your R&D development on non-dilutive funding, because once you take that VC money, your clock starts. And investors have a time in their head and a return number in their head that you need to kind of get through. So managing as much of your R&D process before you start that clock, you thought was a really wise decision. And I think as we go through, I just made a note. We have an investor that's going to talk to us on I think it's April 25th, which he's going to talk about a scientific approach to VC. So some of his lessons learned as a founder in the scientific world. Now he's an investor with NFX. So he's going to come in and talk, and I'll put that in Slack so you all know when that's happening. We'd love to see you all there.
I do have a question regarding the teams. There was one slide regarding hiring the right people. I guess my question is, what do you do as a startup when money's tight and you might want to work with cheaper, let's say, college graduates? I kind of want to hear what your thoughts are on that, like, training people. So rather spending less money and taking more time to train them to make sure they fit the team, or would it just be, generally speaking, would it be better to hire more expensive people that immediately fit the profile?
Yeah, Christian, I mean, there's no simple answer to this one. I'm guessing you already knew that, but so I think what I've seen over the years is companies kind of doing all the above. Particularly, you all are university related companies in most cases. I'm pretty sure, Kevin, nod your head. I mean, from what I've seen and understand. So you have a talent pool you should be tapping into that you can probably engage in a whole variety of ways: part-time, contract, using grant funding. You should 100% be doing that, in my opinion. I was more advising, when you get first funding, and it may be large grants, by the way, multi-year grants. Who are those people you're bringing on? Now, on a grant-funded program, you very well you may be less likely to give equity potentially to someone at that point if they're on a 3-year NIH grant or whatever you happen to have. They may just be working for you, and so certainly alignment to what the mission is of the company, the passion for the work will be important, but that individual may not be the person you maintain long term. What I was really trying to get at is, when you get funding and you have to make hires, these are people that are going to be in the company for a while, and that's where most companies, I'll say many, I'll say it's the most, many companies don't follow good hiring practices, and they default to, well, I know Sally or Joe or whoever, and don't run a process, don't do background checks, don't work through the questions of cultural fit. Is this somebody you can work with? So I think there are kind of multiple points in time you're going to engage people, contractually, maybe working through grants, part-time, undergrads, grads, postdocs. I mean, you're going to do all that. But in particular, when you're hiring to bring someone on the team that you have funding for over, probably from an investor, most likely, that's the point you need to transition your thinking, in my opinion, to, am I really being careful and thoughtful about the hire? Did I search low and high and low? Did I do real diligence on this person? I had a 1-hour meeting and like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. Being a little exaggerative, but you're going to hear a lot more about this. And in a later session, if you are needing to hire right now, I'm going to recommend a few books in this program, probably 3. One is called Top Grading. Top Grading. It is 100% the best guidebook, in my opinion, for strategic hiring. And we'll have a little bit of content around that in a later session. But anyway, it's an extremely useful book, and I like it. It's data driven. And one of the outcomes of this book, why the author wrote this, in part, was to study definitively, does the quality of the team make a difference in the financial performance of the company? The answer is 100%. And guess how you do that? You hire wisely. And then there's a whole thought process that really was an eye-opener for you. This book, I think, maybe 8 or 9 years old. It does not need an update at all. I mean, it's as relevant today as it was when it was written. So just if this is an area you're not real experienced in, there's some great summaries online. You can just get up. Top Grading, pick the book up if you really want to get into it. But it's a really good methodology for thinking about hiring at all stages, by the way. Sorry, long answer, Christian. Hopefully that helped.
All good, thank you.
Mike, I saw Sue from Mobility Z had her hand up.
Yeah, hello. Thank you, Kevin. So my question was regarding in your initial discussion with like startup like us, which is a SaaS, digital health, having a deep tech component involved. So we are on the integration of those three. So considering that, and I think what your presentation was very useful currently, understanding like what kind of startup are we and what are the boundaries that we have to see, or what are the processes we have to evolve, because there is an innovation component, there is a SaaS component, there is different kind of elements or branches of the product that we can either launch earlier or later, depending on that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of see that in this program from the mentorship. But if any advice or suggestion you have, I would love to hear that.
You know, just to be really direct, I don't know enough about what you're doing to give you advice today. But that's what this program is about. I mean, the one thing I would say, just based on what the question you asked, you've got to remember we talked about that value proposition in the diamond. You've got to nail that first. You talked about a variety of potential concepts around value proposition. I think once you are very clear about that and you're committed to it, then it becomes easier to say what pathway do you go, particularly from an investor standpoint. Because if you're a SaaS business, you have a lot of advantages in some respects. But I'm not sure that's what you are based on what the question is. So I think it's a little bit early, unfortunately, for me to give you any feedback. Again, that's your client manager will help you really define these things, work through the nitty gritty of what is this business I'm running. We will talk about some startup models. And so that I think that will help you generalize what quadrant of, or what type of startup, sorry, and what quadrant do I fall in when you see the model. That should help a lot. And then that helps you determine how might I pitch this business, particularly when I'm ready to invest, or sorry, get investment is what I meant.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike. I don't see any more questions, and we are at time. Great session, and we're going to move into our kind of next part, which is the company introductions. I did see there was a question in the chat regarding the name of the book, but I also see that Joey's kind of put a link in the chat, how to get to the book, Top Grading. So the next thing we're going to do is jump into our company introductions. And what we want you to do here is take a short amount of time, hopefully less than 5 minutes. We finish on time today. We want one member of the company to provide, their name and role in the company. If there are other people on the call today, make sure you introduce them as well. If you have a university affiliation, mention what that is and give a brief background. And then the positioning statement format we're using here actually comes from Jeffrey Moore, who we talked about earlier in the book Crossing the Chasm. And this is kind of a very brief, targeted way to introduce your company. So it follows a format of 4 and naming your target customer who wants to buy, what's the reason they want to buy your product, what your solution name is and the category, the benefits you think it provides, and how it's differentiated from what's out today in your differentiating points. And then we'd like to hear a little bit about what are your challenges that are a priority for you to solve while participating in the program. So I have a list of companies here. I know I've been keeping a list too of who's had to kind of jump off the call. I know for some folks, they only learned about their acceptance in the program in the last few days and couldn't manage to make all the schedule changes. So we'll manage that kind of as we go through. But why don't I invite IVRCV to go first?
Hello, my name is James Michael. I'm a co-founder and project lead for IVRCV. I'm a first-year PhD student at the University of New Mexico. Previously, I was at Colorado State. Good to see a couple alumni in the group here from that university. and got my master's in biomedical engineering from there. So our target customer is emergency medical services, professionals, trainees, and students. And the reason why we're trying to target them is emergency medical services have a difficult time getting their trainees up to speed on complex scenarios. So our solution of immersive virtual reality clinical video, or IVRCV, is an educational service and tool to kind of provide those benefits for the trainees to kind of experience those complex scenarios they may not see very often and give them a safe environment to fail. And unlike our competitors of Atticus Lab and SimX, our service is going to be a lot cheaper as it's going to be on mobile devices here and won't be as cost prohibitive to the end user there. And then, so we're trying to really focus on mobile VR, that's video, so that's not using the VR simulation space there to kind of lower the cost and be access to those services is there. We're mainly kind of trying to solve our business challenges from the program here. Just kind of, I don't know, have a business background whatsoever. My bachelor's is in biology and my master's is in mechanical and biomedical engineering. So really trying to figure out our like customer discovery and all those sorts of business related aspects.
Excellent. Thanks so much. I know Fendor is one of the companies that had to jump off to teach a class, so we'll jump over to 3 Culinary Med Docs.
Hello, I'm Allison Childress. I am a co-founder and CEO of 3 Culinary Med Docs, and I'm also a registered and licensed clinical dietitian. And on the call today, we have our other two founders. So we have Shannon Gallion. She is our CTO. She's also a registered and licensed clinical dietitian. And then we have Michelle Alcorn, our CFO, and her background is in hospitality management. So our university affiliation is with Texas Tech University. We are all professors of one rank or another in the College of Human Sciences. I personally am also the director of online graduate programs. I see patients at our clinic, and my primary research focus is culinary medicine. So 3 Culinary Med Docs has created our product, SAM. So SAM is a culinary medicine app that creates customized medically tailored meal plans for people who have chronic conditions, but specifically for those people who have multiple chronic conditions. Right now, SAM currently addresses cardiovascular disease, hypertension, prehypertension, diabetes, prediabetes, hyperlipidemia, GERD, celiac disease, fatty liver disease, and obesity. However, if someone does not have a chronic condition, SAM will generate a nutritionally adequate and balanced healthy meal plan without any of those disease-specific restrictions. So our solution, SAM, is an app, a smartphone app that provides these benefits. It is all-inclusive, it is digital, and it is an on-demand resource for the nutritional management of chronic conditions. SAM provides medically tailored meal plans based on culinary medicine and customizes based on disease state, what allergies the user may have, their cooking preferences, their weight goals, and it's delivered directly to the patients via a smartphone app. So SAM provides personalized nutrition management, medically tailored meal plans, support for chronic condition management, ease of access to nutrition education, and empowerment through education and behavioral incentives. Unlike our competitors such as Noom, FoodSmart, and Weight Watchers, we address multiple chronic conditions utilizing culinary medicine, which makes us very different, as our educational piece, and we provide a simple, affordable, and quick onboarding process without the need for a physician referral or health insurance. In addition to the fact that we address multiple chronic conditions, which none of our competitors do. So some of the challenges that we want to solve while participating in this program, of course, funding is one, but also hiring. We're looking to make our very first hire for our company, for our startup. And so we are specifically looking for guidance on that. Also acquisition and retention, not only of users, but of sponsors and partners as well. And then securing access to hospital or patient electronic medical records so that we can integrate ourselves into patient portals. And then finally, we're looking for guidance on market expansion and awareness in the market.
Excellent. Thank you, Allison. Next up would be, make sure I'm saying it right, Ibrux, is that right?
Hi, yes, this is Mike Duckwitz. I'm founder and CEO of Abrux, and we are developing a biofeedback wearable device that helps people who clench and grind their teeth because existing solutions don't get them out of pain. Our product called Somnus is worn as a headband, and unlike mouth guards and other treatments, it actually stops the clenching and the grinding the moment it starts without waking up the user. So the benefits are that it's really easy to use and that it provides pain-free relief from this condition called bruxism. So the challenges we're looking to solve here. So I think our founding team has a lot of the technical stuff under wraps, but we are lacking in the business strategy areas and customer discovery, customer acquisition. Those things are going to be so critical. And so I think those are the things that we're going to want to work on.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Emmett Surgical.
Good morning. Excuse me. My name is Bob Whitco. I'm founder and CEO of Met Surgical.
Hey, Bob, we lost you a little bit. Then you went on mute.
I hate when that happens. Let me start over. My name is Bob Whitco. I'm founder and CEO of Met Surgical. I did a pre-law undergrad, and instead of going over to the dark side of law, I was fortunate to join a management training program at 3M, where in essence, a real-world MBA program. Over the last 40 years, my business experience has been primarily in the field of data storage and semiconductor memories. You can hear from a little scratchiness in my throat that I'm also a professional cancer survivor. Started about 15 years ago. Met Surgical has two products under development. One called True Margin is now in the FDA 510(k) clearance cycle, so I'll focus on that one. True Margin is a device that, and it creates a system that allows surgeons to create matching maps inside the patient and on the tumor. Matching maps will allow surgeons and pathologists to communicate together with specificity. And we're the first product of its type that allows a map to be created in the patient and on the tumor. Why is this important? Because about 23%, for example, in breast cancer cases, patients have to undergo a reoperation. Our customers are hospitals. The influencers are the surgeons and the pathologists. Combined, it's very clear that there's a good value proposition, an opportunity for our products being low cost, being unique, and enabling this communication that is been sought and suggested for in medical literature for over 75 years. We are doing development R&D on a second product, but more so that's 3 to 5 years off in the future. And so it's definitely not a focus at this point. I applied to this program for two reasons. One is building the team. Number two is we are raising a round right now and to get better insights and learn how to better present the company to investors.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
NeuroServe.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, my name is Kevin James. I'm co-founder and CEO for NeuroServe. We're an EEG brainwave monitoring SaaS company. My co-founder and CMO is Steve Glitsky, associate professor at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. But right now I'm finishing my MBA from Brigham Young University Provo, and he asked me to come join him on his team as kind of the initial brain for the business side, and he's the technical side. NeuroServe is for natal intensive care infants who need sleep and their caretakers who are responsible for the infant's health and development. Our EEG brainwave device and software is a med device that measures the amount and type of sleep an infant is having and collects the information on infants to understand standard care practices of NICU infants. Unlike our competitors, we're able to actually record EEG waves and translate those EEG waves into usable information. And that is because of our connection through Steve Glitsky and others in his field that are backing us and giving us support as advisors. Right now, our challenges are to first prepare our pre-production product. So we have a prototype right now that we've shown that it's functional, but we need a pre-production product to do clinical trials, and to develop the software and hardware for that, and then to obtain preferably non-diluting funding to make the final product for marketing and demonstration purposes.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. We're going to pull up Nicholas at New American Fabric, as he has a conflict coming up. So we're going to pull him up to go next.
Hey, thanks for letting me jump in here. So my name is Nicholas Bergfeld. I'm the Chief Medical Officer at New American Fabric. It is affiliated to Texas Tech University, and that's both from intellectual property as well as from a financing standpoint. Recently just went through the university's accelerator program, and there are 3 other co-founders. Also, they're co-inventors on the intellectual property. So everything's kind of tightly bundled there in terms of the shareholder agreement that's in place. This technology it's essentially a low-cost antimicrobial compound that you apply to fabric. And so the target customers are essentially healthcare facilities, physicians in wound care management, and then a side entirely different target market related to consumer goods, such as anti-odor socks, for example. A typical pair of diabetic socks with silver threading cost about $25 to $26. That's because silver is very expensive. It's an essential, precious metal. And so this technology essentially is a replacement for that, where rather than using a rare mineral as a component of the antimicrobial activity, we use something that's much, much less than expensive. And so the focus for this program is twofold. We're currently fundraising for a 510(k) pathway for medical device approval as a medical textile in the FRO product category code. And we need to fundraise about $300,000 for those studies. And then separately, we need to develop out our approach to the apparel market. So we're looking for any kind of expertise, insights, honestly, customer discovery process for understanding how to bring goods to the mass consumer goods marketplace.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicholas. I'm going to pull up ZCure and Chi to go next. He has to check out of a hotel, so go ahead.
Well, thank you, Kevin. And sorry for asking for that. So my name is Chi Zhen, although sometimes I go by Kevin in clinic. So whenever you talked about Kevin, I got a little confused. But I'm a physician scientist, also a radiation oncologist affiliated with University of Nebraska Medical Center. And nice to see another Kevin here from the same institute. So our company is named ZCure, but our mission is focused on developing nanoformulations of currently available FDA-approved drugs, targeting the patient population with primary brain tumors, particularly high-grade glioma or glioblastoma in particular. So our product we licensed out is named P4Med. It's a small molecule based on a certain nanovector that has a very specificity to target brain tumor, particularly the macrophage in the tumor microenvironment. So our product is different from others in that it's not only having very specific tumor targeting and tumor suppressing effect, but also in our preclinical study, we have shown very significant neurocognitive function protection. So we are actually expanding the product to try on patients with neurodegenerative disease, for example, Alzheimer's, which was significantly expanding the market and potentially having showing even higher needs of this target. The benefit we wish to get from this training class is to learn again the previous experience of small startup companies, how to succeed based on the tutoring here, and also to try to learn how to go for the market and go for early start fundings, which we really don't have much experience for. Thank you.
Evan, I think you're muted.
Well, that would be why I'm not getting a response. So thank you, Kevin. Okay, Kotera, we'll get back to our list. Kotera.
Hey, Kevin, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for having us here as well too. My name is Brian. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Kotera. We're actually a spin-out from University of Colorado Boulder of Embark program that started this past year in June, I believe. And so we work closely with venture partners over the last, and we finished, we actually are still currently in their accelerator program, Ascent, as well too. My background is actually originally in software engineering. However, the majority of my career has been around early stage and entrepreneurship consulting, including some biomedical as well too, which is kind of what led me here today with where Kotera has kind of created a product called EndoGuard, which is a proactive coating around coronary stents that uses a combination of nano and bioactive materials, which allow it for it to mitigate conditions that re-narrow the blood vessels. Unlike our competitors, which are effectively bare metal stents or drug-eluting stents that are in the market, we minimize blood vessel damage when it's deployed. We induce native healing as it maximizes the surface-to-surface contact between the stent and the blood vessel. And we're able to, because we're using nanomaterials, we're able to customize our application to other, customize our product to other applications beyond just coronary stents, which allows for us to actually maximize our marketplace. Some of the challenges that we're looking to solve in this program right now is though we've done some initial customer discovery, we would like to hone in a bit more on the beachhead market to identify preliminary customer targets, get some guidance on some FDA pathway, areas, get some strategic R&D partnerships, and then finding more minimal dilutive funds for our product validation.
Thanks, Brian. I was your judge for OEdit, and unfortunately, when you joined the program, they had to throw my review out.
Oh, thanks,
but
Kevin.
I liked it. But I liked it. It was good.
Thank you.
Okay, automated assessments.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Johning. I'm the founder and president of Automated Assessments, which is a holding company for several verticals that I'll describe in the future. But our current focus is in the healthcare arena with FutureAssure. We have taken what I developed as a vascular surgeon, chief of surgery, which is utilizing frailty to identify high-risk patients and optimize their surgical venture into what is currently becoming more and more de facto, which is frailty is probably the biggest predictor of surgical outcomes as well as chemotherapeutic outcomes. And it's now being shown to predict falls in the community. So it's a big predictor. The challenge is, and I don't know if any of you have been to a physician's office recently, but we're still in the non-digital age. And we are using 1940s dynamometer technology as well as very rudimentary assessment tools. So my goal was to develop a system that would, and again, automate and assess you on a standard physician check-in. And I'm actually at a conference right now. I don't know if you all can see that this is our technology. It is tablet technology with an embedded, very unique force grip sensor, as well as an action button to do stopwatch timing. Short story is, when you go to the physician's office, sit down in the waiting room, we bring you back to get your vitals taken. We have done a validated assessment for you and we can now risk assess you on multiple scales to give you accurate data for the patient, for the physician, and importantly for payers to be able to do point of care interventions. We currently think we're unique on the market because there are no frailty assessment tools like this out there. And overall, we're here because we are looking to gain some guidance on our marketing and commercialization and confirm that our concept and the way we built our company is solid and secure, so we don't fail. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. Jura Health.
Hi, everyone. My name's Chris Moore, and I am the CEO and founder of Jura Health, and I'm joined today by David Lyon, who's our head of business development. My background, this handful of us, we come from large sequencing companies, Roche, Exact Sciences. Actually, I was at Terumo BCT as well for just a little bit. Yeah, it's great to be here, by the way. So our target customer are physicians and patients who are looking for a diagnosis of what could be a rare disease. And we always like to caveat, rare diseases are not rare. They're actually, as a group, they're bigger than cancer, AIDS, and Alzheimer's combined. Very, very big. Our solution is a whole genome sequencing test that fuels a health data platform. And we provide kind of these several benefits, but three of the biggest ones. One is a potential genetic answer. So 73% of rare diseases have a genetic cause. So that's step number one. Nobody really knows much about those diseases and what to do about them. So then we offer next steps so that a physician and patient who have never even heard of this thing before now have a diagnosis. And now what do I do tomorrow? And then the third big thing is we connect them in a community. When you have one of these diseases, it's very hard to find specialists. In fact, it's possible in the state of Colorado, we have no one. So it's big, it's very important to have a network. We're very unlike our competitors. One is we actually target Medicaid. Our general thinking is the health space needs help in this very large community that does not have access to premier institutions. 43% of all children in the United States are covered by Medicaid. So giant population. The second one is these big genetic testing companies, they have tests that do not look at the entire genome as a standard. And so you kind of get this piecemeal diagnostic odyssey that can take up to 5 years for these patients. The third is those companies share that data with other companies. They don't actually give it back to the patient. And so a patient who's kind of bopping around through a difficult healthcare system with a rare diagnosis gets frustrated because their data is not available to them, and we'll fix that. We would like to solve a handful of things with this venture. One, this health data platform will have more genetic information about you than ever in the history of the world, and we'd like it to be as social as all the social networks. So how in the world do you do that? And the second one is we need some funding. We have the test. Now we need some funding to build this platform. That's our real differentiator. So how do we get there? And the third is that the rare disease community is pretty fragmented. And so how do we begin to focus it? You know, it's big, as I mentioned. How do we begin to focus it and find some small wins that build some big momentum? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Exocular.
Thanks, Kevin. Hi, everyone. My name is Miguel Flores Belver. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Exocular DX. I'm an assistant professor in ophthalmology here at the University of Colorado. I'm originally from Spain, but I moved to the US 10 years ago to do my PhD training and postdoctoral training at the Johns Hopkins University, and I was focused on stem cells and extracellular vesicles or exosomes for ocular diseases. We have other two co-founders that are not present today, Michael Young, a professor from Harvard, and also Dr. Redenti, a professor at CUNY, with different expertise on other ocular diseases. And at Exocular, we have developed a technology for the early detection and monitor the progression of the leading cause of blindness. Our primary focus, I would say, is the patients to enhance the quality of life. However, we understand and acknowledge other stakeholders like insurance providers, primary care physician, ophthalmologists, and also pharmaceutical companies. We focus on different leading causes of blindness, but the main cause that we have today is age-related macular degeneration, which is also known as AMD, and is the leading cause of blindness in adults above 50. And with this rising aging population, AMD stands as a significant and expanding market. So here at Exocular, we are developing this exosome test. It's a diagnostic tool based on the molecular cargo of these vesicles in order to early diagnose and also monitor the progression of the disease. And our patients, our AMD patients, they respond different to the current treatments. And an early detection will help designing a better strategy for preserve vision. What we learn is early AMD and transition between different stages developing the disease is still a challenge in the current standard for AMD diagnostics. And unlike our competitors, the tests that we are developing at Exocular will fill those gaps, enabling early intervention that can stop or slow the progression of the disease. We are a company based on scientists, and we hope and we aim to learn from experts to better understand and reach key business milestones like marketing strategy, commercialization, reimbursement, regulatory pathway, and also build a strategic partnership for us to move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miguel. Gelastomerics.
Yeah, there's an extra ER in there. I think it's just elastomerics, like an elastomer. Yeah. So, hey everybody. So I'm Travis Bailey, and I'm the founder of this newly formed startup out of Colorado State University, and we're really a materials company, and we hope to provide a novel elastomeric polymer into the medical plastics marketplace more generally. I'm currently a professor in chemical and biological engineering department at CSU, and sort of a polymer chemist and material scientist by training. So our team's actually in the final week of the National I-Corps program. So I'll cast our positioning statement in terms of a specific customer segment we identified in that program, which really involves the application of this material towards manufacture of minimally invasive catheter technologies. So for the catheter R&D engineer seeking to simplify manufacturing and avoid the anticipated fluoropolymer supply chain issues associated with impending PFAS regulation, gelastomers offer a drop-in thermoplastic elastomer that provides catheter shafts with intrinsic low friction lubricity just upon extrusion alone. So in terms of competitors, I would say, unlike hydrophilic coatings, which are supplied by Surmodics or Biocoat, or the fluoropolymer liners of Zeus or Teleflex, for example, those are what are used to currently achieve low friction lubricity in catheter manufacture, and they require costly and capital intensive extra processing steps, which are prone to quality failures. So gelastomers provide a simple, durable, low friction alternative that would completely eliminate the need for these extra processing steps. And we believe this material will be the first intrinsically lubricious TPE in the market. So for challenges for us that we want to really accomplish over the next year, a big one is to figure out how to navigate and cultivate opportunities for joint development. Through the I-Corps customer discovery program, we've made contacts through a number of, whether it's OEM manufacturers like Medtronic or Boston Scientific, or compounding partners, or even resin manufacturing companies. There's opportunities for joint development, so how to navigate that process. And then we're working on securing our first non-dilutive funds, and we would like to use those to sort of secure some key IP outside of the university or outside these joint development agreements. So,
great, thank you, Travis. Decorum Medical Innovations.
Hi there, my name is Blake Hyde. I just wanted to take a quick second to say hello to Jason Johning, who is actually an attending surgeon he's with Automated Assessments, he just spoke, where I trained in Nebraska. He was in the next hall over, and I remember my co-resident working with him on studying frailty initially. So really cool to see that going on. Very inspiring. I am, pardon me, founder and president of Decorum Medical Innovations, and I, unlike a lot of you, have no university affiliation, but I'm a practicing ear, nose, and throat surgeon in Fort Collins, Colorado. I've had a long-standing interest in trying to help improve the standard of care for patients who have a tracheostomy procedure, which is a surgical opening in the airway, which can happen for a variety of reasons, and it's quite common. About 100,000 people just in the US annually will undergo that. And so the problem is intriguing to me because it takes someone who has potentially varying levels of prior function from being completely healthy to quite ill, and then immediately takes all those people and kind of renders them relatively immobile, dependent, they're depressed, they're a burden on resources and their family, in fact, and it makes them passive in their own healthcare because they have to be suctioned from their secretions so frequently. And they're risky patients. Not everybody feels comfortable taking care of them. So I have developed something called an autotrach, which uses and introduces kind of a novel function of the ability to rinse and clean all the inside and outside regions of a tracheostomy tube, all with the press of a button, either by the patient or a caretaker, or even integrated with the function of a ventilator if they're sedated. So our positioning statement is that our product is for tracheostomy patients who currently suffer from passive dependence on others, psychosocial distress, and place themselves and others at unnecessary risk. With present standard of care methods, the autotrach restores that control of what's called intraluminal tracheostomy suctioning back to the patient, or automates the process. And unlike the uncomfortable and failure-prone standard disposable intercannula systems that are on the market today, our product alleviates the patient discomfort, restores patient dignity, reduces healthcare costs and family member burden, and minimizes the risk of aerosolized particles to everyone. Our goal in general at Decorum Medical is to leverage our IP to try to transform the ecosystem of advanced airway care from one that is kind of a high touch, high cost, high exposure, high risk, towards one that's safer and easier and aligns all the financial incentives of all the important parties, all while restoring the patient's dignity. We're starting with a tracheostomy device, but our patents cover endotracheal tubes as well. So what I'm hoping to get out of participation, I'm really excited to be here, is kind of refining our market analysis and pricing structure, and then securing channel partner relationships. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Blake. Mobility Z Health.
Hello, everyone. I'm Suchashna Patel, CEO and founder of Mobility Z Health. We are Texas Tech University affiliated. I'm a biotech engineer and a master's researcher with a background in product innovation and business. Mobility Z Health is a digital health AI-enabled software for healthcare professionals to screen, diagnose, and monitor people with musculoskeletal injuries. This provides clinical decision support through our proprietary software, which is unlike Worry Health, Upswing Health, who are using current traditional telemedicine modules. Hence, Mobility Z Health is the only app that comprises of AI-enabled software strategic component for injury analysis. Our challenges that we are solving while participating in this program are go-to-market strategy towards our product technology innovation strategically. Thank you.
Thank you. Loxygen.
Hello, this is Özgür Şahin. So I'm a professor at Medical University of South Carolina. I'm also the CEO of and founder of Loxygen. Loxygen is my second company. So my first company actually almost completed its mission. It developed a small molecule for cancer therapy in collaboration with pharma, and we are in phase 1. So this Loxygen is the second company which is targeting, which is also developing a small molecule to target chemotherapy-resistant triple-negative breast cancer, so which is the most aggressive breast cancer. And the niche we have is we are basically targeting a tumor microenvironment, and these are the structural components of tumor microenvironment, which is basically for tumors which have stiff desmoplastic stroma, like triple negative breast cancer, pancreas, and kidney. So, and we have a unique small molecule which has been supported by the NIH in the form of Fast Track STTR grant the last couple of years. So we so far had only non-dilutive funds. And this technology, unlike our competitors, we have currently one or two competitors developing similar molecules. They're mostly focusing on fibrosis and non-solid tumors. So we are the first on addressing solid tumors, initially starting with triple negative breast cancer, which is our expertise. But this doesn't mean that we can not also go fibrosis-related disease. So that's down the road. Strategically, we decided to start with the TNBC, which is our expertise. And basically, from this program, my expectation is, in addition to these non-dilutive funds, we plan to get a little more. I want to have investors. I want to have like investor meeting ready portfolio for the company, and also maybe again all development strategies. So this is what that's why I'm here. Thank you so much.
Excellent, thank you. How do you pronounce your first name again?
Özgür.
Özgür. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is GenoFab.
Hi, I'm Jean Pécou. I am the founder and CEO of GenoFab. With me today, I have Kay Miller, who is our VP of Business Development. I also have my two kids, Samuel, who is my lead software developer, and Amelie, who is our marketing manager. I'm a professor in the Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering, just like Travis, who spoke a little bit earlier. My research program aims at developing new viruses or engineering existing viruses to deliver genes to patients for gene and cell therapy. And I founded GenoFab really as a vehicle to make a difference in the world by bringing the technology that we develop in academia into the market. So GenoFab clients are life scientists who need to accelerate their drug development projects. Our solutions is called iVectors. It's a line of plasmids, and plasmids are small DNA molecules that can really be seen as the blueprints of modern drugs like antibodies, gene therapies, cell therapies, or vaccines. The iVectors provide a bridge between experimental biology and data science. They make it possible to have access to machine learning and artificial intelligence to prioritize drug targets. And unless competitors like Agene, iVectors have a clear IP status, they provide a full documentation, and they include a built-in quality control feature. So some of the challenges that we want to solve is one, I see this program as a team building exercise. I think it's going to create an opportunity for people who came on board at different stages to unite around a common vision of the company, as opposed to just me driving everybody behind me. I think also that a major issue is try to figure out the business models that will ensure the product market fit. In particular, we need to figure out if we're selling the enabling technology, if we're selling a service, or if we're selling a drug. And finally, a big challenge is the catch-22 that Michael was talking about, is how do we break into this market before we can raise tens of millions of dollars to build our own drug development facility.
Thank you very much, Yang. Fold Therapeutics.
Hi, Kevin. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sunil Kumar. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Denver here in Colorado, and I'm a co-founder of the company, Fold Therapeutics. And the other co-founder is Rajiv Kumar. He couldn't make it, but he's an MD. by training. So I am a professor of chemical biology. So we developed a platform of small molecules where we, the company based on, and it's a platform with large library of small molecules with a lot of chemical diversity. And the target is neurodegenerative disorders, Parkinson's, ALS, and Alzheimer. And we have now in our company, which we are just forming as we speak, we have identified these hit molecules where they have gone through all the initial screening, and then we tested them in different mouse models, and they crossed the blood-brain barrier. And now we almost crossed the middle path, which is their pharmaceutical property. We call them ADME properties. So they have shown nice data there. So right now we are at a stage where in the next 1 or 2 years, we could move to the phase 1 trial for these molecules. For our patients, obviously, are Parkinson's and Lewy body dementia. And obviously, there is no drug for them, which could stop the progression of these disease. And we feel like we have really good potent molecules. And our competition one is the antibodies. And antibodies, as we know, last year, one of them was successfully FDA approved for Alzheimer's disease. But one of the main challenges with antibody are they are too large, so they are very difficult to cross the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier. And our molecules, you can consider them as antibody, but on much smaller size. So they are very easy to cross the blood-brain barrier, which is one of the key aspect for them to reach to the target, which is in the brain. So so main challenges, one of them is we are definitely looking for, we have expertise on the technical side and clinical side, but we do not have much expertise or any expertise in the on the business side. So that's one of the things we look forward to learn from this course, and what are the different things, how to form a team which can be successful to move this technology forward. And we got federal funding for this work, but we in the future, hopefully near future, we will start raising money for this. And that is another obviously big challenge, because when we move to phase 1 trial, we need a lot of money to do the phase 1 trial. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sunil. Hey, we're doing really well. You guys are doing a great job at getting through your company introductions. Let's take a break. Let's take a 10-minute break. I think that'll take us to about 10:45. So go ahead and shut down, take a break, go grab a coffee. I have to go let my dogs out, and we'll see you back here at 10:45.
Oh, sorry. I had myself on mute still. Apologies.
Right.
Yeah, I'll get rolling. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it, Kevin. So my name's Izzy Stoll. My co-founder is Josh Pan. I'm the CEO. He's the COO. Those are our roles. Our company is called Numera Therapeutics. We're a preclinical stage pharmaceuticals company spun out from the Western Institute for Advanced Study. So we're a C corporation that's registered in Delaware, but headquartered in Colorado. And we incorporated last year in October 2023. So, excuse me, we focus on developing small molecule drugs targeting cancer cell metabolism. And our initial focus is on glioblastoma, although we do expect this therapeutic approach to be relevant for a range of cancers. So there's a real need for products in this space. So glioblastomas are the most common form of malignant brain tumor in adults. And the average patient survival is only about 1 year from diagnosis. So it's a really desperate situation for patients and their families. Unfortunately, there have not been any successful new treatments for this disease indication in about 20 years, since the chemotherapeutic alkylating agent temozolomide came on the market. So new treatments are direly needed to increase the survival and quality of life for this patient population. So a bit more about the state of the market. Over the past 15 years, competitors have been largely focused on biological products like cell therapies and antibodies that don't really penetrate the blood-brain barrier. And they've also been focused on immunological therapies like PD-L1 inhibitors, despite the fact that the brain is actually an immunologically cold environment. And so these products have failed at clinical trial. And so a small molecule approach is new, and targeting energy metabolism is new. So there have been some companies targeting like glucose and glutamine metabolism, but we're targeting fatty acid metabolism, which is really underappreciated, but really important to cancer cell function, particularly in brain tumors and some others. So we filed a new provisional patent on our drug in December, and we hope that we have a lot of success by preventing the cancer cells from making energy to grow the tumor. So we're currently building partnerships with clinical neuro-oncologists. We're seeking investment. We're applying for SBIR grants. NCI is our target. We're trying our best to move towards clinical trial. So we're really excited to work with Innosphere on the investment pitches and the non-dilutive funding applications in particular, but also obviously benefiting from their deep knowledge of the pharma space and path to regulatory approval and market. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Izzy. But somatoceutics. And grabbing a little, I think you're, do we have someone from somatoceutics? All right, why don't we jump over them and go to...
Hello.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, Stephen.
So it's somatoceutics. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Rosenzweig. I'm the founder and president of Somatoceutics. I'm a professor in the Department of Cell and Molecular Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics at the Medical University of South Carolina, where I've been for a number of years. My lab has been focused on the role of the insulin-like growth factors in health and disease, and that's reflected in the name of the company. Somatoceutics is developing novel peptide-based nanotubes for targeted delivery of encapsulated drugs and biologicals across the blood-brain barrier for use in Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. We're also targeting difficult-to-reach tumors such as pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma. These are early days for the company, but things move fast once they're in motion. Our nanotubes are suited for drug companies that have a drug or biological that exhibits difficult systemic or CNS delivery. Use of our nanotubes will provide a better dissemination and delivery of drugs and biologicals to where they're needed. So we call our product SMC101 nanotubes, and they're unique in that they are comprised of peptides derived from a natural human serum protein. Accordingly, they self-assemble into nanotubes via disulfide bonding and can be loaded with drugs during the assembly process. These features provide our nanotubes with stability and the lack of toxicity. This differs from carbon, graphene, and gold nanotubes, which tend to accumulate in tissues, leading to toxic side effects. SMC101 nanotubes provide a distinct advantage by being stable, non-toxic. They target integrins due to the presence of an intrinsic RGD motif. And our current challenges are, I need a plan to identify investors and to commercialize our nanotubes. Thank you.
Kevin, you're muted again.
I love that mute button. Thank you, Stephen. And if I pronounce any other company names incorrectly, please correct me so we can hear it kind of this first time through. So with that, let's go to Empower Health.
Hello, my name is Doug Miller, and I'm the founder and CEO of Empower Health. We're a treadmill technology company that will unlock your gait to interpret your every move. I'm also pleased to introduce Nidhi Dwivedi. She's our Director of Research and Education and Project Development, and also Susan LaPlay Miller, who is our VP of Partnerships and Strategy. Together, we'll be working throughout the entire Innosphere journey. We are affiliated with the University of Nebraska Systems. We're licensed from UNMC, working with the Unitech team and the research arm at UNO. We are headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska, but we're a Delaware C Corp. Company positioning for clients looking for a way to walk or run that isn't hampered by mobility issues. Our self-pacing treadmill provides real-time feedback to accelerate recovery from injury, surgery, and illness. Unlike smartwatches and apps, Empower's patented algorithm forms an actual 3D representation of the client's gait over time, providing instantaneous user feedback and improvement. The challenges we're looking to solve with our engagement through Innosphere is accelerating our fundraising and marketing efforts, as well as sales to gain market acceptance, and defining and executing on plans to achieve FDA certifications. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Doug. Onconat.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dan LaBarbera. I'm the founder and CEO of Onconat Therapeutics Incorporated. I'm really happy to be here and be part of this program. So I really want to thank the organizers, Innosphere. I think this is a great opportunity for myself, but all of us. In addition, I'm a professor of pharmaceutical sciences and the founding director of the CU Anschutz Center for Drug Discovery in the Skaggs School of Pharmacy at University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus. In addition to my leadership in drug discovery and development, I run a federally funded research program focused on cancer drug discovery and development. My lab utilizes a multidisciplinary approach encompassing high throughput discovery sciences, drug design, medicinal chemistry, cancer biology, and pharmacology to identify and validate unique molecular targets and develop novel drug therapies. Onconat was formed based on drug technology from my laboratory, licensed to the company. And, cancer is one of these diseases that, despite advancements in therapies,
hold your personal belongings before.
And also technologies to treat and manage cancer for many patients, and even with emerging technologies, some of those mentioned like biologics or cell therapies, there still remains a huge gap in the treatment of cancer. And this is primarily as a result of the therapies not addressing tumor progression, metastasis, and multi-drug resistance. So Onconat's therapeutic strategy is really centered on a unique molecular target known as CHD1L. It's a chromatin remodeling enzyme that really functions at the interface of tumor progression, metastatic potential, and multi-drug resistance. And so Onconat is developing first-in-class small molecule drug therapies. And right now, we've got a pipeline of lead drugs, and we're on the cusp of IND enabling studies. Our initial target market is going to be colorectal cancer. And a lot of clinical data suggests that inhibiting CHD1L could have great therapeutic benefit for patients and improve overall survival by up to 10 years. So I think that really gives us an advantage. I think the other advantage in terms of our therapeutic strategy is our lead drugs are synergized very strongly with chemotherapy and targeted therapies that are broadly used for the treatment of a variety of cancers. In addition to colorectal cancer, we intend to eventually expand out to other significant cancers, including breast cancer, lung cancer, and other cancers. So I'm here to learn as much as I can, and I think this program is outstanding. But obviously, I like this idea of blitz scaling. So if we can learn how to actually apply that concept, get significant funding to move our lead drugs through the IND enabling process, that's my primary goal.
All right, thank you, Dan. Susmer.
Hey, Kevin, thanks. Really looking forward to this program over the next 9 months. My name is Jake Larger. I'm the CFO, COO at Susmer Inc. Additionally, Dr. Ravi Kumar Ramigoda will be going through the program with me. He is Susmer's co-founder, president, and CTO. Susmer is a Colorado State University spin-out, founded back in 2014 by Dr. Goda and Professor Dr. Eugene Chen. We're commercializing a chemical manufacturing process for a medical grade biomaterial. So for medical device companies who need a superior, already FDA cleared, biocompatible polymer, our solution is Susmer Flex, a chemically manufactured P4HB polymer that provides customers or patients better patient experiences due to its biocompatible, higher strength, and controlled degradation rate properties, giving them better experiences. Unlike existing material solutions like polypropylene, PLGA, PGA, or microbially manufactured P4HB, Susmer Flex is a cost-effective alternative material for these medical device applications, such as hernia meshes, tissue engineering, or drug delivery applications. 4 of our goals for this program, the main thing is just de-risking our business model, in particular, our regulatory strategy, path to market. Secondly, our licensing go-to-market strategy. So one of the 4 reasons earlier why startups fail is higher costs at lower scales while gaining traction in the market. So we've been going through that the last few weeks. We had our first purchase order and we quoted them too much. So we're navigating that negotiation, understanding what is the true value of this material and what to charge. Additionally, customer discovery of alternative materials and how to position ourselves to get the true value of this P4HB material in the market. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you, Jake. But Uncle Blaze.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dieter Hemmerich. I'm the CEO of Oncoblaze, and I founded the company last year together with Christian Rossmann, who is also on the call today. Christian has some prior startup expertise with another company, so he provides some business expertise for our endeavor. I am affiliated with the Medical University of South Carolina, so I'm faculty in the Department of Pediatrics. I've done initially quite a bit of research on heat-based cancer therapy, developing heat-based devices, and more recently we've worked on combining heat-based devices with heat-activated drug delivery. And the company is based on our recent research results. So our customers would be, of course, physicians, specifically surgeons and cancer centers, and the end, of course, patients would be the main beneficiaries. What we are specifically working on is, so surgery, as many of you know, is a first-line therapy for many of the cancers, but oftentimes some cancer cells remain in the normal tissue surrounding the tumor that has been extracted. And these remaining cancer cells then can result in tumor recurrence. And in the cancers that we target, that can happen in 30 to 40% of the patients, so quite a large population. So our technology prevents the tumor recurrence after surgery, which potentially could result in a cure for these patients. And of course, also provides extensive cost savings from the follow-up treatments that the recurrent patients would need. We intend to have separate products for different cancers. So initially we'll target 2 specific cancers. One of them is soft tissue sarcoma. So the product name would be Sarcoplase. It is a medical device, but we also require our heat-activated drug, which we intend to obtain from a partner we have identified. So the technology is actually a drug-device combination product. The key benefits are that we can deliver a very high chemotherapy dose in a very targeted manner to remnant cancer cells that surround the extracted tumor, and in result provides very effective and highly localized cancer cell kill. It's a laser-guided chemotherapy delivery with very precise spatial targeting. And in addition, we have real-time image-based monitoring that provides real-time feedback on where and how much drug we deliver. The main competitor we identified is called intraoperative radiation therapy, which attempts to do something similar, but uses radiation instead of chemotherapy. So unlike our competitor, we use chemotherapy. Radiation has often limited efficacy, so it's not very widely used. It requires costly equipment. It has limited targeting ability because the radiation penetrates much deeper and damages nearby organs that often are nearby to the treated tumors. It's complex and also requires a radiation physicist and therapy planning, which all we do not need. Our key differentiation points are high efficacy in preventing tumor recurrence, targeted chemotherapy delivery to tissue where remnant cancer cell resides, real-time monitoring of delivery, and cost effectiveness. And the things we try to, or we would like to learn from this program is to help us develop a regulatory strategy, develop an overall company strategy, and learn how to attract investor funding, a product development plan, learn an IP strategy, and also help us with reimbursement. That's all. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dieter. Metaphone.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kirk McGilvray. I'm faculty in mechanical engineering here at Colorado State University. I'm joined by my co-founder, Lynn Pezzanite, who is also faculty in clinical sciences here at CSU. Our technology is a novel biomaterial to deliver active agents into open wounds. This is designed for first responders, whether in the civilian sector or in the warfighter sector. What's unique about this is we can deliver agents in our compositional biomaterial to address concerns around infection, blood loss, and pain management. Our product is unique in is that there's no current solution that approaches these 3 concerns in a single application space. And also this is compatible with all the standard of care that current first responders are doing. Our product, the key differentiation is its versatility, i.e. we can adjust the active agents based on regional needs, say different bacteria in different regional areas, if it's being used by, say, a warfighter versus someone in an ambulance or someone in the hospital. What we'd like to get out of this program is to better understand our regulatory strategy as well as our investment strategy.
Excellent. Thank you, Kurt. Tangible has asked to move down the list a little bit as they're deplaning. So we'll jump over to Vertical Longevity Pharmaceuticals.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name's Dave. I am the founder and CSO of Vertical Longevity Pharmaceuticals, and we target the molecular mechanisms of human aging. Most recently affiliated with the University of New Mexico. I got my PhD in biomedical sciences there in aging, go figure, and I got a concurrent MBA, so I do have some experience in the business realm. It's been a busy couple of years. I'm currently working for a longevity startup, not mine, but another one, while I'm running due diligence for the Life Science Angels Investor Group. So I could totally resonate with what Kevin said earlier about how you think it's easy going in and then you realize how damn difficult it is. Our solution is for every person that doesn't want to succumb to the diseases of aging. But specifically, we have seen a potential cure for atherosclerosis. It's the #1 killer of Americans, so our market potential is huge. We remove plaque buildup and prevent future plaques by targeting a specific driver of aging, the cell type called senescent cells. That's what I did my PhD in. unlike some current market competitors like PCSK9 inhibitors, we're targeting the drivers of aging. So they're targeting a particular indication. We're targeting aging. And so by that, we saw a therapeutic benefit in every single organ and cell type that we investigated. We didn't have the funding to target everything, but everything we did observe, we did see a therapeutic benefit. So during the program, I'm really hoping to build a board out because this has basically been me, me and my PhD thesis advisor, a couple of scientific board of advisors. But yeah, I'm really looking to build out that business board because I've been pitching to investors and their major point of feedback has been, you have no experience doing this, no FDA, IND, no taking a drug to market, and they're right. So I mean, really glad to be here, hoping to learn as much as I can along the way.
All right, thank you, Dave. Patient Sim AI.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Hey, everyone. Very excited to be here. My name is Ramsey Waby, and I am one of 3 co-founders of our company called Patient Sim AI. I'm an assistant professor of medicine and a heart failure cardiologist with dual appointments in the Division of Cardiology and the Biomedical Informatics Center at the Medical University of South Carolina. I'm also the lead AI clinical scientist at the Clemson MUSC AI Hub, and I have experience in advanced training in artificial intelligence. I completed a postdoctoral fellowship in AI during my clinical training at Northwestern, during which I obtained a Master of Science in Artificial Intelligence degree from the Northwestern McCormick School of Engineering. Our company is for health professional schools and particularly clinical educators who need a realistic, personalized, and immersive learning experience for clinical education as a replacement for or augmentation of in-person standardized patient experience programs, which can be costly and very cumbersome to maintain. So our solution is Patient Sim AI. It's a software as a service B2B web application that leverages generative AI to provide face-to-face, real-time virtual patient simulation experience for clinical education. And unlike our major competitors in the virtual clinical simulation market, like Oxford Medical Simulator and PCS Spark, which provide scripted, unrealistic virtual patient interactions, which fall into what we call the uncanny valley of virtual human simulation, where interactions become unsettling rather than engaging. Our platform offers unscripted, ultra-realistic, and emotionally evocative interactions through natural conversation that really feels like talking to a real patient on a telehealth platform. Additionally, our platform grounds interactions to contemporary clinical evidence via patent pending technology and allows interaction in over 20 languages, and also allows customization by clinical educators in creating new patient simulation experiences with very minimal effort. So we are still a very young company in early stages. So we're looking for guidance and insight in making early hiring decisions. Myself and my co-founders are all full-time faculty and cardiologists. So we're not naive to the need to hire a COO and establish our leadership structure to handle day-to-day operations as we grow. We're also looking to hire a small engineering team to help build out the front end of our application to help move our platform from our MVP to be market ready. And then finally, looking for guidance and helping to refine our business plan, ensuring all aspects of our IP that can be protected are protected, building an investor pipeline and pitching investors, bringing in additional clinical partners and conducting further pilot research and market testing, developing a marketing plan and planning a potential exit. So everything that the program has to offer.
Excellent. Thank you, Ramsey. Omedes LLC.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jessica, and I am a nurse practitioner, and I am the founder of Omedis. Kevin, no worries. Everyone wants to call it Omedeus, like the popular rock song. So we might be making that our unofficial anthem. Anyway, so we are creating a product, a medical device that is for military and medical staff and EMS to be used during mass casualty situations, in overcrowded emergency rooms, or anytime we need rapid assessment of high volume patient situations. So our solution is a very easy to use peel and stick patch that is a sort of wearable. It has a onboard assessment that does an automated triage, and it actually changes the color of the device based on standard triage protocols. And so this can be applied during an active combat situation or on patients during a mass casualty event. Unlike the standard operating procedure, which is a quick triage assessment, which is unfortunately only correct about 46% of the time, this gives very accurate data that also continues to monitor the patients that it's on. And not only does it allow the medical staff to identify who needs care first, even non-medical and lay people can quickly identify which patients need to be attended to first to facilitate rescue attempts. So in addition to having the onboard screen that provides the vitals right on the patient, we're actually also creating a secondary hardware piece, which we can call our command center, that uses IoT technology and can actually visualize all what we're calling the stat patch available in the area, so that you can coordinate care across 20 or 200, however many that are active in the area, and indicate, whether they're being moved to the hospital, or even there's a location device built into it. So this is new in the field. There's not currently technology like this for mass casualty. Certainly patient monitoring exists in the hospitals, but our current competitors would be standard EKG monitoring or any type of surveillance monitoring hospitals currently do. So our challenges are just sales channels and funnels. Pricing of the product, we're finishing our MVP currently, looking to move to the FDA approval, hopefully end of this year. So we're very excited to be here though.
Excellent. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
VitalWave Tech.
Hi, my name is Jason McGowan, and I am CEO and co-founder of VitalWave Tech. My co-founder, Hingba, is also here today. We also came out of the Embark program at CU Boulder, started in the last summer. But we also have affiliation with our PIs at CU Denver, and also we have affiliation with the Anschutz. Our device is a blood pressure monitor. It's for hypertension patients, obviously, but specifically chronic kidney disease is probably our beachhead target right now. And it's really for these patients who need to monitor and measure blood pressure in a non-clinical setting at least once per day, and need to keep track and log that data. So our EBP device measures blood pressure with an earpiece. So just something you quickly and easily put in your ear. And it provides remote, ambulatory, and accurate within FDA limits, blood pressure monitoring and logging. So unlike the traditional blood pressure cuff, which was invented in 1896 and hasn't it's a digital monitor, digital display. That's about it. And those, blood pressure cuffs are difficult to use. You really need to be trained to use it, and they're non-ambulatory. You can't really walk around with them, and generally, the logging of the data of the measurement is done manually, piece of paper or something like that. So, yeah, and so the challenges we face are, of course, is really funding. So both non-dilutive, including trying to figure out, we do believe that there's military applications for this, so DoD funding and how we can pursue that, as well as we are starting to raise a round of financing as well. And then the regulatory pathway, of course, we just really want to, dot our I's and cross our T's with that to make sure that we fully understand and are doing everything now to make sure that we're on a quick path with that. Yeah, and now that's VitalWave Tech.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. Okay, Tangible, I heard you're deplaned and ready to go, so we'll jump back up to you.
Yes, hi.
I'm so sorry. I've been traveling today. In the course of this meeting, I started in Vermont, drove through New Hampshire, boarded a plane in Boston, and now I'm in New York City. And I'm about to board a plane to Denver. So it's been quite a morning. Hopefully you can hear me. It's very loud here, but I'll get started. Sorry. My name is Nicholas Jacobson. I'm a co-founder of Tangible Industries with the great Jordan Lewis, who's also on the call here. Jordan's going to be the CEO. I'm focused a lot on the design and technical side. What we're doing is spinning out some of the technology I've developed in my lab at CU Anschutz over the last 7 years. I'm design focused, and I've worked with Jordan for a couple of years when he had a company, and he hired me to do some technical work. So it's an honor to be able to work with somebody I know understands the business. My background is really unique. I started as an architect and then found that the technology I was using as an architect was more interesting in other places. And I got into fashion, haute couture. And then I accidentally invented some technology that's useful for medicine. And so here we are. I'm going to pull up my notes real quick. Our company is a platform technology. It's changes the way that we make things. Most, if not all, things that you see around you are made by an assembly paradigm. Individual parts made for an individual purpose. And what we have is something that allows for multi-material parts to be created in one thing, multiple functions, multiple materials. Platform technology, and so we focused on 3 major applications at first, which I had a false start a couple of years ago and tried to spin out and realized I wasn't ready yet. Spun back into the university and was able to get non-dilutive funding and push these things forward. So one of the first products, to give you an idea of what we're doing, is to provide 3D printed models for pre-surgical planning. Because surgeons currently rely on 2-dimensional imaging to do complex procedures on 3-dimensional body. We've shown that these models help reduce operative times and complications while allowing for new approaches to really difficult surgical problems. Our solution is to volumetrically 3D print the body. So imagine taking an MRI scan and creating a 3-dimensional model from that. We call this solution Tangible Intelligence because it captures most, if not all, of the medical data types and puts it together in one model. Better surgical planning, patient education, development of new procedures. Our competitors, there's a lot of people that are 3D printing models right now because we are about to see reimbursement come in 2025. But most technology still operates on this assembly paradigm of using individual parts for individual purposes, which is ignoring the benefit of 3D printing. Some of the challenges we have is that we believe with the platform technology that we have a lot of ideas, a lot of things that we want to do. We've got 3 products off the gate and can think of many, many more that we've started down the path on. And so we want to be able to hold our core IP while being able to tackle a number of different projects in industries and hopefully not, have to exit with our core IP in 5 or 6 years. So we could really use some help figuring out how to structure this. Hopefully that made some sense. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Nicholas. Job well done delivering a presentation while walking through an airport. Okay, Pearl Scientific. AC, are you on today, or I know what? All right, let's jump ahead to Namai Diagnostics.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here. My name is Kalu. I'm the founder and the principal investigator at the NAMI Diagnostics. NAMI Diagnostics is affiliated with Texas Tech, and we are sorry. I hear some background, the echo stuff. Okay, so we are developing the technology for the early detection of sepsis. Sepsis is the huge condition, medical conditions that kills maybe 270,000 people just in the United States. And the sepsis incidence rate is really high. It's about 1.7 million cases in the United States, and half billion, maybe just 50 million cases worldwide. And the key point is for the sepsis is the early detection, because sepsis is curable, and as long as you can find out it's early, and before it's progress to uncontrollable stage, and which can cause multi-organ failure and even death. So, but the current state technology for the sepsis detection still relies on the 100-year-old blood culture, which is yields the test results probably 24 to 70 hours, depend on the case by case. So, and the current marketable technology for the sepsis rapid diagnosis still have some flaws, and they cannot, maybe their diagnostic accuracy are really low, and also maybe they cannot give you the diagnosis instead of give you some risk stratification. So, and they are sometimes for the pathogen detection but you have to firstly confirm the sepsis. So our innovation for our technology can deliver the sepsis diagnosis in an hour. So physicians and doctors can use this piece of evidence-based results to initiate antibiotic treatment instead of waiting for the results or based on his or her experience. So, and in that case, you can just initiate the treatment or give the patient intensive, antibiotic treatment as needed. And you don't give anyone, without, real sepsis later on, you can confirm with other tests. So one thing I want to be clear is this test is not going to replace the traditional blood culture, but give the physician and doctors the assay-based, data-driven decision when they initiate the treatment, the broader scope of the antibiotic treatment, at the beginning. So hopefully we can get out from this program. We would like to gain some, because this is the new company, and we want to get some help in the business development, as well as the fundraise and engage the investors and the corporate partners co-develop the technology. And so that's it. So hopefully, thank you.
I'm mute again. Thank you, Keith. Well done. I think we've gone through everybody who's here, but let me just do a quick double check to see if anybody's been able to jump back on. Do we have anyone from Gritty Work? Anyone from Thendor Therapeutics? Anyone from Pearl Scientific? All right, I think that is our walk through everybody. So, which is great. I'll get to give you a little bit of time back today. So you can see we've got a big, broad cohort. We're at 34 companies accepted into the program right now, with a potential for a couple more to join us as we move forward. You probably heard lots of people sharing the same interests that you do. And we'll use that as we go forward to help kind of align some of the energy that we drive into the program and some of the benefit back to you. So Now, Suhas, if you can flip to the next slide. Let me move my chat box so I can see what I put here. So a couple action items. We're going to wrap up with our kind of action items and also our homework and a little bit about that. So as far as the action items, we put up before the list of the client directors, and we want you to connect with your client directors and pick a routine day and time where you can have one-on-ones each week. And then we'd recommend, starting to get those pulled together either this week or next, as that is your kind of expert mentor to help you guide with many of the things that you mentioned as your challenges. And do know as you go through the program, even though you're assigned a client director, you get access and exposure to really all of us as client directors to help drive you forward. So that would be one action item. The second is to join the Slack channel, which I see a lot of you have done already. So as I mentioned before, this is a bit of our coffee shop. This is where we can kind of connect to their client directors, your program partners, each other, share news, share insights, share events that are going on, ask questions to get insight from others. So I've sent everyone an invitation by email to join. If you haven't received that invitation, please let me know so we can figure out how to get you kind of engaged in the Slack channel. And just from today, I know Joey's already posted the Tom Easman Harvard Business Review article that follows up on some of the components that Mike stated. I'll make sure to put the client directors in there, as well as a few graphics about some of the topics and questions that people had, so that we have those. And it's, like I said, a great place to follow up on information and resources, and we'll keep going over those. So you can jump to the next slide, Suhas. All right, so the homework for the next session is really to kind of begin some of our assessments to kind of see where you are. And there's two sets of assessments that we want you to complete. First, we want you to complete a base board first pass assessment, and we'll go over this in just a second. And then the second, we have two client assessments that we want you to complete with your client director. So that's kind of a core assessment and then a life science assessment. And we use these assessments to kind of gauge where you are today. And then we revisit these as we kind of move through the program. So if you can go to the next slide, Suhas. So this is the base board assessment. And you've probably seen this together before, particularly if you've gone through the I-Corps program, as I know some of them use this, a version of this before. This is kind of a modified version. And so by June, we're hoping you will have a pretty good sense of where all these, how you would describe yourself in all these boxes. For this first exercise, what we want you to do is look at each of the boxes that are shown and basically put a number in there that says, what level of completion do you think you have of the things that are described? And what level of satisfaction do you have with the work that you've done already? So, for example, you probably know yourself pretty well and have a satisfaction of your understanding of yourself and why you're doing this, similar to your idea. But as you kind of go through these different boxes, kind of moving to the right in terms of your opportunity, your strategy, and ultimately your operations, those numbers are likely going to come down. And that's what we want to kind of pay attention to as we go through. So you'll receive this base board, and then you'll also receive a slide deck that kind of explains the questions underneath each of these boxes. And in each box, like I said, put a number in terms of level of completion, and then the level of satisfaction you currently have with the work that you've done. So that's one homework assignment. And then the second, if you go to the next slide, Suhas, is we'll send you two company assessments. These company assessments, as you go through, will highlight a number of columns of important development. So the core company assessment is kind of a general startup level of readiness, and then the life sciences gets into some of the topics that are important for a life science company to specifically have completed themselves. Similarly, as you look at what's inside each of these decks, you'll see there's a number of columns, numbered 1 through 8. And we want you to read through the entirety of the column. And again, when you look at the column, you're looking for the column that you feel you've got more than 80% of the work that's described in that column complete. And that work that's complete, you're very satisfied with the quality. So that's kind of the judge we want you to use in kind of picking the column that best aligns to your company. And you'll do this through a number of different dimensions, again, both in the core and the life science. And that'll kind of give us a baseline of kind of where you are at as kind of a starting point in the program. Go to the next slide. Well, there is no more next slides. All right. Very good. Okay, if you can click out of that, that would be great. So we will get you these assessments today for you to look through. You are more than welcome to reach out if you come across any questions as you're kind of looking at them and getting into the assignments. Are there any questions or comments about the workshop today, the assignments, next steps? All right.
So I have a question. Can you hear me, Kevin?
Yes.
So you said reach out to the client director. So we start doing it like the client director are the one who reach out to us about the program starting, or they will be later on they will be assigned to us.
They were assigned today. I'll maybe have Suaz, can you go back to the slides and pull up the client director assignment slide? It's toward the beginning. There it is.
Oh, I missed that. Okay. Sorry, yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, no problem. So, you know, these are underneath each of the client directors here, the companies that have their assignments. So,
okay.
Neil, I think
yeah.
I'm your assignment.
Oh, yeah.
Joey has just dropped a note that she'll reach out to her companies, and I'll do the same. So I think in the most part, probably most of your client directors will reach out to you.
Okay.
Maybe I should quickly ask, Alan, did you join us?
I saw him for a little bit and then he left again.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to check to see if we can give him an opportunity for introduction if he was here. Yeah, so these are the assignments, and client directors will reach out to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And like I said, we'll begin to think a little bit about the days and times that you can routinely kind of set aside to connect. And that's how we'll kind of work kind of going forward. Bob, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, just a quick question. Based on your experience, for those of us who are running businesses right now, approximately how much time should we budget each week for homework, for whatever, and not what's the minimum amount of time for success, but those who've been really successful with the program, how much time have they dedicated to the program?
I'm not sure I could put a definite number on how much time. I think that, you know, the more you put into your work, the better it goes. So let me kind of give the overview of how to think about it. So early on in each quarter, we will have a series of workshops, and those weeks, like today, have a day that will take 4 hours dedicated to go through different topics. Today's the primary day we do the type of introductory everybody share a little bit of something live on the set. In the future, we kind of bring in experts in different areas of topics that we want to cover, and they'll run through kind of helping you kind of put pen to paper in how do you develop your business plan. Most of the workshops will be designed, helping you develop your business plan, helping you develop your pitch, or, populating your data room. So things that are important for you to be able to go and present. And typically each week would be an hour dedicated with your client director. Now, since you're all probably at different places, there's probably all different types of work relative to what you're doing. So that's where the time is a little bit difficult to ask is, some weeks like these past weeks with my current clients has been really intensive because a number of them were filing SBIR grants, and that's a heavy lift. And there was a lot of back and forth between them and me. And so that takes some, took a lot of time for them to do and complete. So when you have deadlines, obviously your time goes up. But we'll be giving you pieces, after we complete these assessments to say, here's how we need to develop and build out these different elements of your plan. And so obviously, that it depends a little bit on how much time you think it's going to take, how much you have in hand. So it's a little bit different, but we are going to keep pushing to kind of develop pieces and pull them forward. And typically those that can find more time to do it end up moving a little bit faster in the program and getting more done. I don't know if any of the other client directors want to weigh in on their thoughts on that.
I see Joey had her thumb up.
I agree with Kevin, is what I'm saying.
So that means in the startup life of working 100 hours a week, I've got to carve out another 10 hours, which is not surprising.
Bob, the way I look at it is that this is the work you should be doing anyway. So it may not be plus 10. It may be what you're already doing, just with more focus and carrots and sticks.
I like the sticks. Okay.
All right, great answer, Joey.
Good answers. Thank you.
All right, Suhas, can you take this slide down just so I can see everybody again? There we go. All right, any other questions or comments before we break? All right, if I don't see any hands up, oh, there's a clapping. And I'm going to take that as a good sign from Mike. See, is he clapping? Everyone's looking good. Okay, I get to give you the gift of time back. We're not going to 12:45 today. We're going to let you out at 11:39. Thanks, everybody, for joining. I think I've said this to the Innisphere crew, but I'm super excited by the culture, the science, the opportunity, the network that are all behind this program. I think it could, we intend to make it one of the strongest life science programs in the United States. And I think we got all the resources behind it to make it happen. So really looking forward to working with everybody and great to kick it off. All right. Have a great day. Thanks everybody for joining.